So, oh, okay. We're just starting the recording. Okay. All right. So that is my request, and hopefully it can be done quickly because they're closing down in a few days.
Okay, but that is agenda item. I guess that would be.
No,
No,
probably not,
you're doing a presentation on it. I guess you would have to put that on the agenda, Lizzie. I
I'm
think.
sorry. What presentation?
But Laura,
Item
Dolores,
12.
yeah, my presentation is just an idea. It is a presentation, it's a PowerPoint, but it's just an idea, something for us to think about, see if it's a viable option for us,
This
going
is
forward.
separate.
Yeah, I think
because I don't want to take it away from Teresa's vision of what that award is for. This is a certificate of commendation that I'm requesting for a business that I think it's standard for a situation like this. So anyway, thank you.
Laura, would that not have to be put on the agenda? She's just making a statement under public, but to act on that, it would have to go on the agenda. Am I correct?
You're asking me, yes, it would, but for the fact that we have this, I know that Teresa's intention was different, but it is sort of a generic thing on this agenda, but we're not really supposed to be discussing a public comment.
No.
yeah,
She's hold on. Teresa is putting that
I know.
Stakeholder Citizens Award idea on the agenda.
I understood that.
Lizzie is actually asking for a certificate for a business owner.
I understand that as well. So,
excuse me, Dolores.
and I understand that technically we're not supposed to be discussing a public comment. I do think that when we get to governing board agenda, that item on this agenda, we may be able to discuss presentations as an agenda item for the governing board, but not necessarily a specific award, two different things. So, but I'm a little concerned that we're discussing a public comment item at all.
Hold on a second, Lizzie. I'm discussing the issue because I'm asking a question.
Yes.
Should a request like that be put on the agenda? That's my question.
If
the
the request, not your request, but if a stakeholder requests that UNNC present an award from UNNC to whoever, yes, I think we need to have voted a procedure for that. If conversely, the city council has an award, a certificate to present a long-time business, and they simply request that UNNC make some time for that on our governing board agenda, we could do that without the board first voting to make the time. So in other words, I think we can figure out a way to do that as part of our governing board agenda that doesn't require a vote. But if UNNC were to be asked to give a certificate, then the board would have to vote, I believe.
Okay, so Lizzie, then what would be your preference?
All right. I wanted to make this announcement for transparency and full disclosure, and also because it was very late to ask formally to add it to tonight's agenda. We literally learned about tax hardware closing this week. So it's given the time, I wanted to make this comment in public. And I would prefer for the city to issue this certificate of commendation.
So that's not something we have to vote on, right, Laura?
Right, that would be correct.
We can just request that through our city channels, right?
Correct. Okay. We can request it. If they say yes, they can in turn request that the time to present it be at our meeting.
Right.
Yeah, that's a normal what we do.
Thank you.
Seeing none, moving on to item number 4, update on all open projects, bills, and payments. Greg Jackson, our treasurer, was supposed to do that report, but he's not here this evening, so Laura is going to do it in his stead.
Right, I'm going to merely present what he shared with us. And that would, okay, everyone I always have to ask for a little bit of forgiveness because I always have to find the things, even though I had made it available to me. So he gave us a budget brief, and what this shows, if you can see this, is that we have essentially, between money that has been spent and money that's been requested, we have $3,670 in outstanding requests for payments and expenses of $2,800, if you can see that. And then, oh gosh, if you'll hang on 1 second, please. I'm so sorry, I had a conversation in the background that was interrupting. And within this, he's put through all the payment requests. Part of the, I'm gonna stop the share. One of our requests for payments is the NPG for Sons Matter. And there's an issue with acquiring the IRS determination letter for the nonprofit status. So that's Greg's report. We can discuss perhaps a solution later on when we get to agenda items for the governing board. So that's that report. That's what he gave us, unless somebody else remembers that he had said anything further. We also had from him the budget survey. Only 4 people have responded, and I will share that with a recommendation. So again, if you can see the screen, it's only 4 people have responded. So this is not a, as he writes, a sufficient sample for us to conclude that we have any sort of budgetary mindset or focus. So he is saying the gist is to, feedback was provided. The gist is to assure that that a clear brief on the budget is provided while individuals are alert. That's, I'm reading out loud. Those are not Greg's comments, but they capture his mindset that a budget brief should be provided at the start of the meeting. Should I stop sharing? Do we need to look at this? Should I stop sharing? I can't.
I think you can stop sharing.
Thank you.
You can stop.
And I see that Teresa had her hand up, so I'll wait to make my comment till Teresa.
Teresa?
Thank you, Dolores. I was just wondering, should we give Greg's survey time of a little longer, or should we send out, or should he send out a notice to everybody reminding them that he's going to extend the time past the 17th?
Mm-hmm.
I think that we should send out a reminder because quite frankly, I forgot about it.
I have a note on the 17th. I'm supposed to do something with Greg, and that's all I have. So, okay. So maybe we can let him know tomorrow to send out, to resubmit it to the board. Thank
Paul?
you.
Yeah, on this item, we have, discussion and action. It's not clear to me exactly what the action is. Is this to approve this, or what is the action? And then my second question would be on the first exhibit that was presented with the budget summary. Does that include some of the recent activity such as Dynasty and then Teresa being paid back and all that?
I can answer the latter question. Yes, it does. And in fact, the clerk has Teresa being paid twice, but I'm pretty sure they'll catch that and drop one of the reimbursement payments. I also thought we had, or is this just me talking and we didn't actually make a decision? I thought I had suggested, and we had agreed at the governing board, that if Greg would provide a budget snapshot, 1 page max, I would append it into the agenda each governing board month so that everyone would have what we have available to spend right in front of them on the agenda. That the world would have it and the board members would have it. Do we want, was that an agreement? Was that just me yakking at the board?
I mean, just you yapping.
That's what I think too. That's what I think too.
Maybe we
No,
can table the action to the governing board.
Yeah, but the budget brief, I think there's no action to take yet.
Yeah,
mean, I
but his
think-
question was, there was an action listed on the agenda. It should have been possible action, I think.
I think so too.
Okay, Paul?
Yeah, that's good. Thanks.
Okay. Are we done with that, Laura?
I think so. He didn't give much more of a report.
Okay. Next up is the update, item 5, update on correspondence and financial status of Cal Greenworks.
Yeah, that one I can definitely give you guys a full report. So I just have to pick my words carefully. I met with the city attorney and Dunn about a week ago. By and large, the content of the conversation is privileged, but the city attorney in turn spoke with the city clerk, and I had a meeting with the contracts administrator and our funding clerk today. So some of this is very fresh news. So just to background everyone, we UNNC voted to do basically an NPG, Neighborhood Purpose Grant, for an entity called Cal Greenworks to both plant and then water and maintain 25 trees on Jefferson Boulevard between Western and Crenshaw. And some questions have come up as to if the organization that we had voted to provide the grant to has enough further finances to actually do that project, because it requires a minimum of 3 years of watering, and our portion of the funds essentially would be 1 year and no purchase of trees. So our concern is the financial viability, but also our legal, if we would have any legal issues simply canceling the grant without further ado. So from the meetings I have had in particular today, we might have legal ramifications. So the first thing, the contract administrator, well, no, it's a small might. It's not 100% might. What she asked, but I didn't want to do it until I spoke with you guys. She asked, did she have, if I provided her the contact information for the head of Cal Greenworks, she would take it upon herself to ask for the proof of funds. So that'd be a step.
Who was that, Laura?
The city clerk's contracts administrator is willing to reach out directly to Cal Greenworks and request a proof of funds. Say it's before she prepares the contract. But she also wants us to be prepared to go to governing board and do a BAC. But it should be one of two. The BAC, meaning she'll get an answer before our governing board. But so that this doesn't drag on another full month after that. We either need to have a new board vote and a BAC to withdraw the MPG, or we need to do a new BAC requesting that before money is issued in the grant, that the city prepare, essentially it's a nonprofit entity version of a personal services contract, where the contract itself also has requirements of the service provider, that they show the funds, that they do this, and this before the check is written from us. So I feel that the way we were talking today, this should be a choice by the board and not by us. I mean, we could recommend one of the two, but we should present both options to the board, is the gist of it, and based in part on what she learns by reaching out directly. And if what she learns by reaching out directly is that they're unwilling to show the funds or don't have the funds, our path becomes clear. But she said it really has to be a board action and not an officer action.
Teresa?
Thank you, Dolores. I have two questions. Can you please tell us the contractor's name?
Well, for the record, it's Cal Greenworks.
No, not Cal Greenworks, the contract administrator that you talked to?
Oh, yes, it's Cheryl Haas.
Okay. And then also, many times we talked about Cal Greenworks, even if they could show they have sufficient funds today, it doesn't mean that they will have them in a year, 2 years, and 3 years. So I feel like we've been back and forth on this. We do not want to have a contract with this company. It doesn't make a difference if they have $500,000 in their account tomorrow. If Cheryl Haas calls them, it's irrelevant, because we have no way to guarantee that they will have that money, and they have not been shown to be very reliable. So I'm kind of dismayed why we're still talking about this.
May I answer?
Hold on a sec. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, the directive I was given by this group of officers was to find a path where we would not face potential legal liability. So the calm, path would be to pursue, to first say from the city asking for the proof of funds. And then I asked repeatedly in this meeting with a contracts person, is there any way for the city to do a contract that requires the money, the rest of the money for the project, to be thrown into an escrow account? Did not get a straight answer, except that she said to do something like that, she would need to also work with the City of LA's risk management department. So, so what I'm hearing is we need to take these steps. I'd like to take them as fast as possible so we get to the board meeting on November 4, and the board can select one or the other, either the let's cancel it or the let's pursue the personal services style of contract. She said it shouldn't be the officers that makes the decision. We should present it to both, present both options to the board. Obviously, our recommendation is going to hold a lot of weight. And I'm well aware that this body, the executive committee, not to mention Lizzie, who's representing the 31st Street Quality of Life Committee that started the ball rolling on this in the first place, are all in favor of canceling the contract. I'm well aware of it. I'm just reporting the conversations I've had with the people at the city on how to walk the path to avoid the liability.
My question, sorry.
Hold on,
Okay.
Teresa. You've skirted over the issue of the liability. What is our liability in this process?
If we
that
just
was
simply,
my main concern.
Yeah, if we simply cancel the contract without a stated reason, we're suspicious that they don't have the money, but we don't know that. I'd rather the city know it, personally, but that's the issue of how do you, what's the reason one gives based on thus far Cal Greenworks not showing Greg, our treasurer, any evidence. I mean, so he says, but anyway, it's to avoid that sort of what may look like an arbitrary cancellation. It isn't an arbitrary cancellation. I understand that. It's the what does it look like?
So then we could be sued, in other words, that you're dancing around.
Well, anyone can be sued, but
I'm sorry.
Laura, please don't make light of this. That was my main
I'm
concern
not.
about requesting you go to the city attorney and find out what our position was here.
I understand. Anybody can be sued. It is the city that would be sued if there's a suit. What our involvement would be, not that our money is at risk, meaning our UNNC money. What's our risk is that we're all pulled into a lawsuit and we're doing, depositions and testimony. And I'm not making light of it. Anyone can sue for any reason. Nothing we do will prevent him from suing us. We just want to be a little bulletproof if we are sued.
I understand that, but what did the city attorney say was the city or our liability with regards to this contract?
Okay, I can't I can't break privilege. That's why she spoke with the city clerk and why I had the second meeting. So I'm reporting.
Why is it privileged? You
No,
went there as
our
our
discussion.
representative.
That's right.
So why is it privileged to us?
No, it's not privileged to you, but if I state it in a public meeting, we've broken privilege completely. Okay, Grace is an attorney. I know that she's not involved in this, but maybe she can explain.
No, I'm sorry. I don't think that's appropriate.
Okay, well, you're asking me,
No,
I was told that
Okay, all right.
the meeting was
Okay,
privileged,
okay.
but that
Okay, I
she
have
would talk to the
Dolores.
clerk's contract person, and in turn, the clerk would talk to me, which is what happened.
Teresa and
Thank
then
you.
Paul.
Okay, thank you, Dolores. My concern with this is if this, let's say the city does check his account and he does have $500,000. So then we are now obligated, because the city's going to say to us, well, he has the money there, so you guys are now obligated to stay with this contract. So I don't know what them looking into his account to see how much money he has, how that helps us in any way in getting out of this contract. But I will say this, we brought the city into this, and if they check and he does have the money, then we just need to just move forward with this and just be done with it, because we've been going forward. And has anybody, by the way, called him and said, hey, can we get out of this contract with you? We're experiencing some conflict on our board, and we'd like to know if we can just get out of this contract. Did anybody do that? Did Greg do that? Laura, do you know?
Not yet. Not
Okay.
yet. I don't think we're ready to do that yet either. Paul?
I know I was muted, but my picture moved around. I couldn't unmute. It's like, hold on there. I got to unmute myself. But my question is kind of piggybacking off of Teresa in terms of just the contract language. I mean, just for my edification and knowledge, because I've not been through this before, but doesn't the language in the contract have some clause or paragraph that says that at least until we cut the check, there is uncertainty in the process, and it could be, or we can rescind it at any time based on whatever's going on economically with the board and financially with the board? I mean, is there just an absence and lack of that kind of language in the contract that we're so open and vulnerable here? It just, I guess I'm kind of surprised that
I never saw the contract, so I can't answer that question.
On the MPG, it's not a contract. So I don't know either. I don't. I see that Grace has her hand
Yeah,
up.
Grace has her hand.
Grace?
So I was just going to suggest, I totally understand where this board is feeling. Maybe one way to protect the process is not only do we want them to have the money, we want them to put it into an escrow account so that we know the funds can be used. They will not say yes to this and they'll walk away.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
It's a suggestion. They would walk away.
Have a representative from the city attorney's office come to our board meeting and put us straight on what we should and should not do with this.
I can ask if she would do that. I can ask. I'm just saying I'm struggling with the way the conversation, I've been trying to get straight answers, that. I mean, I'm a straight answer person. So I will keep pushing, but let me just ask you this: is it okay for me to give the city clerk's contracts administrator, Mike Meador's, contact information so that she can make that same request for proof of the money? And B, should we put on our agenda the two, so that we can have on the agenda the ability for the board to do whatever the final decision is? We need to do another vote. We either vote to rescind the NPG or we vote to pursue whatever new kind of contract that they tell us that might ultimately still never be signed. We get the money back. But at what point do we stop, as Teresa said, keep talking about it and just make a final decision? And I would hope that that's November 4th.
Well, this is just my opinion. And like you said, that it has to go before the full of that contract administrator, the contact information. But I would want this issue put on the governing board's agenda so we can determine one way or the other what we're going to do with this. Are we going to move forward with whatever requirements are from the, going to put this to bed? Are we going to just rescind this, put it to bed, move on? That's just my opinion. Thoughts, Teresa, Paul, Lizzie?
Thank you, Dolores. Yes, I would like to put it before the board, but I want that the motion or the discussion to be very specific, that we are bringing this to you for you to rescind this contract, not to discuss if they have the money or to put it in an escrow or whatever it is. When we come to the board, we need to be very specific what we want. And what our goal is, if I understand correctly, is to get out of this contract. So Laura, however you, decide to put that on the agenda, I'd like to be very clear with that language.
Well, we could frame it kind of that way, but it would be discussion and action, because I want the city attorney to make us aware of all the ramifications that are involved, what we have to do, and then we make a decision on that motion that you want. Laura?
Well, one way to handle it for the agenda, to keep both in mind what the city clerk's office said about giving the board a choice, but letting them know what the officer choice is, right? Which is to rescind, is we just put it on the agenda with both options, and then just say, executive committee recommends : rescission of the contract. So in other words, state both options carefully with the city attorney's concurrence as the agenda item, and then say executive committee recommends rescission. That doesn't mean they have to take your recommendation.
And I think that given the contract administrator the authority to speak with the vendor, and whatever comes with that, that information would be given to the city attorney so they can be aware and know how to address the issue with us at the board meeting.
Absolutely.
Okay, that sounds good to me.
Would that work for you, Teresa?
Yes.
Lizzie?
Lizzie, you're mute.
Sorry about that. If we rescind the contract, would we just lose the money, or there's a way to recover the money? That's one thing. And also another thing, maybe the 31st Street Quality of Life Committee as the requester of the funds from UNNC could actually ask the UNNC to rescind the contract. I would have to ask the members of the committee.
Right. Well, I'm sorry,
Laura?
I think whatever the neighbors wanted to do, they're certainly welcome to do, whether they authorize you to say it, or if it feels more independent for one of them to come to the meeting and say it rather than a board member, either way. And in terms of the first question, it sounds like, but I want it in writing, we would get the money back into our coffers for this year. But I want that in writing, because she kept just saying, well, your funds are encumbered, so they're okay. And it's like, but are they encumbered? What? And I don't even have an answer. Are they encumbered solely for trees and we on the green belt, and we can just switch vendors, which would be the ideal, right? So we still could move that project forward, or are they? I want a straight answer, but that wasn't really the topic. I mean, she kept saying yes, but she was not. She is the contracts administrator, and that's not the same person in the clerk's office the person in the clerk's office who's in charge of the funding side is a guy named Melvin Canis. So he'd be the person I would want an email from to verify that we can keep the funds.
Or have him come to the meeting, because we need some straight answers.
You know what?
They need to stop wishy-washying around.
You know what? That's it. I'm gonna put that in the chat. Request Melvin Canis to attend UNNC board meeting. For the
Okay,
record.
and Paul, you had your hand up, or you took it down and had it back up again?
Took it down.
Okay,
So I think we have a path on this is that feels like a bit of consensus-ish, sort of.
okay. So where were we putting the interviews?
We put right now,
Oh, okay.
they're the next item.
All right. You want to handle that?
Sure. Yes, and so I would like everyone to know that I put the candidates, we have 2 candidates for 4 open seats, but both of our candidates who are here tonight are applying for Region 1 area representative where we have 2 seats available. So that's where they're resident representatives. I uploaded into the agenda packet their applications with their home addresses and emails and phone numbers blacked out. But they do both live in Region 1. The underlying application has their actual address. So Dolores, we have 2 people here. One is Grace Yu and the other is Lolita Justice. Did I remember your last name right? And we would just interview first one, then the other, and I can post the application on the screen if you would like. And Dolores, I think since you're the chair of this, you would tell us who to interview first, and then I'll share the application.
So just to be clear, there is 2 seats for one region?
2 seats available. They're different. One of them will end in 2020. Okay, let me do my math. One is through 2023 and the other is through 2025. And I think you'll hear, well, I'm not going to speak for anybody. So there are 2 seats and there are 2 people applying for them. And
Okay.
but we should interview. We should do our process. We should interview. And then the end of the process is that we would normally vote. If there was 10 people here, we would vote for 2, but there's 2 people here, but we would normally vote to recommend to the UNNC governing board appointing specified candidates to the board. And then at governing board, that would normally be more or less the first item on the agenda after the other, public comment, so that they could take their seats at the table, whoever they are. And
Okay.
so,
All right. Well, since Grace came in first, why don't we start with you, Grace?
okay,
Welcome.
and at what point do you want me to post her application? Do you want her to say a few words, then I post it?
Go ahead and say it. Or you can post it while she's talking.
Okay, I can do that.
Hi, folks. Nice to meet you. My name's Grace Yu. I happen to live next door to the senior housing complex on Washington between Wilton and Gramercy. So I live in the Blue House for those of you who drive by on Wilton. And I'm asking and seeking a position because I saw that there was an opening and I had the time to come join you. And I believe I can add brevity to your meetings because I'm not someone who talks long. I would be honored to join you and to be helpful. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
And I'm having a little trouble with the screen share. I'm trying again. Sorry.
Why do you want to apply, Grace?
I'm applying because I've always been active in whatever I do. I haven't had the opportunity because I've been running 2 national nonprofits, and then I had a city council race. And now that I don't, I said, oh, I've got time. I can join our local neighborhood council. I've attended lots of meetings, but not as a board member. And I don't mean just UNNC. I worked out of the Wilshire Center Koreatown Neighborhood Council, and therefore I was there for a lot of activities for work. But I've been someone who's been very actively involved in the city. I actually was interviewed for the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment board position. And I actually told Deputy Mayor Larry Frank Wait a second. I have no power to do anything. Oh, thank you. I'm sorry. I cannot. When they invited me to come and interview, they didn't tell me what the position was. And when I declined, a month later, they came back and said, Grace, we think you'd be great on the Department of Transportation. And so I joined that and served the city as a commissioner for DOT. Here, we make a difference on the neighborhood council. And so that's why I'm willing to put in time. And I hope you will let me join you.
Okay. Any questions, anyone? Teresa?
Thank you, Dolores. Hi, Grace. I have a couple of questions. If I know you ran for city council in CD10, and if by chance that seat becomes available sooner than later, would you advance toward that, or would you stay committed to your time on the board?
I will let you know that if the seat does come available, I will be applying.
Okay, thank you for being frank. That's very, I mean, we have two positions and we have two candidates, so you probably know where this is going. My second question to you is about redistricting. And I know, I don't know if you've been on top of the different redistricting plans, but do you have an opinion on the most recent plan, which is K 2.51 amended?
No,
map?
Amendment 2.
Oh, amended, sorry.
Teresa, I can tell you that I am not fully on top of all the numbers and the stats like I was 10 years ago. The one thing I would say is I think the LA City Council should do what the state has done and make it be appointees who are not beholden to the person who appoints them, so that we can have a more fair process. I believe you can see by the way the districts have been drawn that they are no longer compact and concise. I mean, there's these really weird configurations and a bunch of barbells. I mean, it's ugly. It's very ugly. So that's my thought on redistricting.
And just lastly, just so you know where we stand as a board, we have submitted a community interest statement, a CIS, stating that we would like for the UNNC to remain whole and to stay within the boundaries of CD10. So that's where we are. Okay, thank you very much, Grace.
Thank you, Grace. Any other questions? Paul?
Yeah, real quick, Grace, have you given any thought to any of the subcommittees you might be interested in getting involved with?
I'll join whatever needs some help and where I can be useful.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
My day job is also working at St. Barnabas Senior Services. So I'm currently very well-versed in the services that the older adult population needs. I am AARP eligible, even if I don't look like it. You know, in LA City and LA County, we have so many areas where, you know, if you are 50 with special needs, you are considered like an older adult. So I think I can bring a lot of new information to UNNC.
Thank you. Any other questions?
No, may I stop the share?
Yes.
I raised my hand.
Oh, I didn't see you, Lizzie. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Hi, Grace. So one of the challenges that we're having, and I think Don, the city, is trying to address that in future months, is that we are struggling with the community as a whole being aware of our existence of the neighborhood councils. So do you have any ideas that you would like to for us, you know, as
you know, on your budget that Greg put together, I noticed that he had like door hangers or things that you can go door to door. I think that would be very helpful. And I recall when UNNC had your regional like housewarming or like open house for UNNC. People came and you got more interaction. I think that would be nice.
Any other questions? Laura.
Right. So Grace, I think especially Region 1 and also Region 2, the Harvard Heights area, we have a growing number of Korean American residents. I'm not sure if they're English speaking, not native, but English speaking or Korean still speaking. Would you be able to also help us on outreach materials? I mean, I don't know if you speak Korean, or would you help us
I do speak
identify
Korean,
someone?
and yes, I can help you with Korean translation.
Because I do think door hangers are a beautiful thing. They're expensive, but a beautiful thing. And if they could be in multiple languages, it'd be great.
Any other questions?
Mm-mm.
Okay, thank you, Grace. We will be, how do we do this?
We would
refer to
interview the
board?
second candidate.
Yes. No, I wanted you to know what to tell Grace. We'll be referring your application to the full governing board.
Well, what we would probably need to do is, which is why we also interview Lolita, is maybe make a recommendation as to who gets the 2-year seat and who gets the 4-year.
I'm happy to take the 2-year seat and let Lolita take the 4-year seat.
Lolita may not want the 4-year seat.
Whatever Lolita wants,
Hear from
we can
Lolita.
work it together.
Okay. So
Okay.
my understanding is we usually interview everyone and then do a motion. But I don't have a deep understanding,
I
Doris.
was trying to explain the process, Laura, not telling her. Let's just go to Lolita.
Okay.
My apologies, everyone. I am 30 minutes late to another meeting. This was not on my agenda. Any other time, I will be with you for the entire meeting. I promise.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you, Grace.
Bye-bye.
Okay, I'm hopefully successfully posting. Ugh, that's not pretty.
Oh, no.
I'm going to stop the share and try that again. Well, while Lolita may introduce herself. Sorry.
Good evening, ladies. Hi, I'm Lolita Justice, and thank you for having me this evening. So I'm open to the first question.
Well, how about you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in running? I know you put a lot of that in your application. I happen to have read it, but why don't you talk to us a little bit?
Oh, okay, wonderful. So I've been living in the area for around 30 years. I went to the local schools here. I went to Mount Vernon. Then I also went to LA High. And from there, I attended the local junior college, which is West LA. And from there, I went on to the University of Laverne. But the reason why I wanted to join when I saw the email, because I receive emails from the organization all the time. And I felt this would be a perfect time to look into joining, because my background has been a lot into the community. And I felt like this would be a perfect time to re-engage. And why not try the position that came across my email, which speaks to the neighborhood in which I live in and been living in for a while. And I have the passion to get out there and use some of my prior experiences to help better the surroundings of where I live. I'm not running for any political seat, but I have worked with a lot of local politicians, and I also worked on the Obama campaign. And for a few people, they may be familiar with the New Leaders. That was the organization that was founded by John Bryant. He no longer lives in the Los Angeles area, but very active in that organization. I was on the board there in membership. And I also was part of the African American Democratic Club, which I was very active there as well. And so the whole process of meeting and bylaws and coming together and planning events and being out in the community and being present and active are things that I am familiar with. So I thought I could bring my personality, my passion from my area in which I live in, and my prior experience to the position.
Laura, you can take the application down.
Okay.
Any questions, anyone? Lolita, I beat you to it, Teresa. Pre-COVID, our neighborhood council was very active in the community. We put on a lot of events. I don't know if you were aware of the Walk on Washington, where we tried to introduce the businesses along the Washington corridor to the residents that live in the area. We try to do business with local business owners, and we put on health and safety programs in the park, and toy giveaway in Benny Potter Park and Leslie Shaw Park. We were engaged in a lot of activities and board members. So do you think that you would be available to participate in the activities once we leave Zoom and go back in the field?
Yes, that's why I feel like it's a perfect timing for me, because I feel like around about next year, we should be coming out of COVID and we can get back, started to the things that we were doing before. Those who were out and involved in the community, like yourself, and different organizations that had to pull back because of the virus. So I think this is a perfect time to re-engage, because I believe that now we can start back getting, engaged in the community again, being present, actually.
Paul, and then Teresa. Did you have your hand up, Teresa?
Yes, I put it down though.
Okay,
I'm happy.
Paul, then Lizzie.
Hey, Lolita, nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you.
So I guess I'm gonna make it easy on myself. I'll ask you the same question I asked the prior candidate, which is,
Okay.
have you given any thought to any of the subcommittees you might like to get involved with?
I'm pretty open, so I'm very flexible. So anyone would be fine with me.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're
Lizzie.
welcome.
Hi, Lolita. Nice meeting
Hi.
you. So I just
Nice.
wanted to say, is Justice your real last name?
My real last name.
I love it.
I get
love
it all the time.
So, Paul,
Odd question.
to my question, I do have a question. So, would you be willing to, what is your preference? This is like a practical question. Are you, do you prefer the 4-year seat or the 2-year seat?
Well, honestly, because I'm not fully sure what the duties in the position entail, I was safer feeling going with 2 years commitment. So I'll know exactly, get a handle on what I'm doing, how I'm doing, and go from there. Not to say I couldn't do it with the 4-year. I just felt that was a bit more of a leap. But again, if it entails all that I pretty much saw today and what is projected to happen, it wouldn't be like a problem. I wouldn't be discouraged with the 4-year, but in my mind, honestly speaking, I was thinking about the 2-year.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. That was an honest answer. I like that. One of the things that is very important in being a board member is your attendance at our meetings, because at our meetings, you're representing the stakeholders in the area in which you're running for. And so we have requirements regarding attendance. And then when if you're going like every other meeting, you're missing, or you miss consecutive meetings, then we start to contact you and find out what's going on, because we do have a process. And I'm not trying to run you off or scare you or anything, but we do have a process where we would have to contact you with regards to your attendance. So when you do get on the board, and I'm thinking ahead, when you do get on the board, just be aware that your attendance is very important, because the stakeholders, they expect you to represent them on the board in their concerns. And you're bringing not only the neighborhood in your area. So your attendance at our meetings is very important. And I think it's a lot easier in a Zoom meeting than it is being coming.
Is Dolores freezing?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So,
You want to
That
ask
could
your
be-
question, Laura?
yeah, Dolores,
Yeah.
you froze a little. So could you repeat the last comment that you made? And it's possible that your Wi-Fi is weak, so you could turn off the video. Your audio might work better.
Turn off my what?
Video. If you turn your video off, because you're being frozen as you speak. When you turn the video off, your Wi-Fi focuses on the voice instead of trying to keep your video going. So maybe try that.
How do I do that?
Oh,
Skip video, the second icon on the left.
Yeah, okay.
there you
There
go.
you go.
Anyway, so we didn't hear your last comment.
Oh, I was just trying to emphasize the fact that attendance was important, and that was important to the stakeholders that she would represent, that she come and represent them at the meeting. That's basically what it was. Any other questions, Laura?
Yes, so it's sort of the same topic, but even more focused. So I live in Area 1, and having essentially 2 vacancies because we had board members who weren't able to participate. It's been very difficult because the region Arlington Heights and Angeles Vista, we've had multiple development projects, some of which have led or could lead to displacement. And we haven't had the showing up of Region 1 representatives at our committee meetings on these topics. So I'm just thrilled I have 2 people wanting to represent me. I mean, obviously I'm on the board, I represent me, but it's a very large region, and I just want to say, doesn't really require an answer, but we have something like 1,500 separate parcels. Lots of them are big apartment buildings, and lots of pressures on renters in particular throughout the area. So I'm hoping you'll be able to participate in whatever we're doing related to that.
Oh, yes, that is one of the reasons why also I felt very motivated, because there are a lot of changes going on. I've seen a lot of different things, good, bad, or indifferent, within the years that I've been living in the area. And I felt like it was a perfect time to, engage myself in a different position, a different level of things with my community.
Right. And I guess I would also ask, it's completely different, but isn't there a Mount Vernon Alumni Association of some sort where they get together on reunions every few years?
There is, and also with LA High as well. But I haven't participated in them. A lot of my things has pretty much been a lot of politically driven. Like I mentioned, TNL, which was called the New Leaders back in the day, and the African American Democratic Club. And when there was a time where I was married and I lived in South Pasadena, and my daughter went to the Boys and Girls Club, and I was on the board there. So it pretty much always been like, it just started in a political arena, like working on campaigns or volunteering in campaign offices and getting out the vote. So it was always more so that focused than some of the other like schools that I attended gatherings.
Okay.
Any other questions? No?
Nope.
Okay. Well, that will be the end of your inquisition, Lolita.
Okay. Well, I hate to leave, but I did make prior arrangements. So I would like to say it was a pleasure meeting everyone, and I'm happy to be able to take this opportunity to see where things can go from here.
Just one thing before you leave. Have you heard of the California Black Women's Collective?
I sure have.
You remember?
No, I'm not, but it has been on my to-do list. And again, it's only because of the virus. Some things is pretty much are pending, but I am familiar with them.
Check it out.
Oh, well, I was just saying that when I was like, oh, look at that. Oh,
All right. Thank you very much and good night.
okay, thank you guys. Have a good evening.
Okay, you too. Good night.
Thank you, Lolita.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, I have a motion. Dolores, is that okay?
And I have a question, Dolores.
Before the motion,
Yes.
go ahead.
How are we going to determine who is appointed to the 2-year term and who's appointed to the 4-year term? Because I feel like if things change in our council district, then Grace is out. So why would we give her 4 years?
Because Lolita prefers 2 years.
Yes. She
So-
preferred 3 years. Yeah. That's why I asked her.
Yeah,
Okay,
I know,
Laura.
but I still feel like we're just doing ourselves a disservice because we know the other person may leave. So we're going to be back at this again. But okay, I get it.
Laura,
Well, I have a motion, but I will also say that if they both are asking for the 2-year, it's the same thing as when 2 people are asking for the 4-year. I don't know how we do it on Zoom, but how we've done it always in the past is we toss a coin. I don't know how you toss a coin on Zoom because there's not a second person to look at the coin. Right. But we've definitely, so anyway, my motion, I'm just posing it. My motion begs the point by not saying it that, recommend to the UNNC governing board that we appoint Lolita Justice and Grace Yu to the governing board in Region 1, open seats A and B, but you guys could amend that if you want to specify. And I'd have to then look up which one's A and which one's B, but I can do that easily.
Paul,
I guess I want to second that, but I also wanted to just say that that's how I got the position I had. There was a coin toss. I believe Greg was the one who tossed the coin and then I think he pointed the camera of his laptop on the coin. So there is a way to do it virtually.
Okay, so so just for the record, and I can't look at a million things at once, but oh, well, we have it wrong. Okay, I see what we have: a seat 1 and a seat 2. So the seat 2, as opposed to A and B, the seat 2 ends in 2023, and the seat 1 ends in 2025. And so I think I'm trying to do compare contrast. So that seat 1 is group A and seat 2 is group B.
you had your hand up, Lizzie?
Yes, just wanted to say I don't get to vote here, obviously, but I was just very happy with the 2 candidates. So
To be
what they would bring to the board.
To be
I'm sorry?
perfectly honest, I'm not. I would have liked to have Grace on the board, but she was honest and upfront. She's out of here if she gets to run for Mark Ridley Thomas's seat in the 10th district. And I believe that she's using the neighborhood council as a stepping stone. She has no interest whatsoever. She's after that other seat.
I had heard that she had an interest in joining the board even before that. So
Right.
I don't believe that's the case.
Paul?
I do not believe that's
I-
the case, Dolores.
Okay, you said it. Paul's talking now.
I mean,
Paul?
I would agree that just on the surface level, it would look like she is using the board as a stepping stone, but does she really need the board as a stepping stone? She's already got enough of a presence, I believe, in the district that if it wasn't for what just happened recently, I mean, I think her interest is genuine,
Mhm.
and that's all I'm going to say on that.
Laura and then Teresa.
So Grace is obviously a neighbor of mine, so I know her as a neighbor. She's actually been very involved at the very smallest of local levels in my neighborhood on multiple things. So and like Lizzie, I had heard from her directly months ago that if we had an opening, she would be interested in joining our board. So I don't think she was using this as a springboard. I think she's as surprised as the rest of us. Maybe not surprised that there's certain legal issues surrounding a certain person, because I think she probably knew a lot of that, but surprised that it actually has become right here in front of us right now. So, and mind you, on some of the redistricting proposals, she and I would no longer be living in CD10, just to be clear.
Teresa?
Thank you, Dolores. I'm like, even if Grace is here a short time, I feel like she would be committed, and if she's gonna attend every meeting and she's fairly conversant on what we are trying to do here, maybe she can bring something valuable. So I'm willing to take that for us, as however long she's willing to be on the board.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, call for the question.
Well, we haven't had a second.
No, Paul seconded. Did you make the
Oh, I'm
motion,
so
Laura?
sorry. I'm
Did you
gonna
make
write,
the motion, Laura?
I made the motion.
Okay, and I believe Paul seconded.
I
Right.
did.
So do we vote now, Dolores? You want us to raise our
Yes.
hands, or?
Show of hands. This is the motion was to move it to the governing board, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Move,
Yeah.
recommend to the governing board that we appoint them and it didn't say who gets which.
Okay,
My motion just says Region 1 open seats A and B. If anyone wanted to be more specific, but I don't know that we have to be. They can tell the board which they can do that part of it again. I mean, it's possible in the next 2 weeks. I don't know. You guys decide.
And things may change in the next 2 weeks. So
So
Okay.
sad.
all
Well,
in favor?
many things could change.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Dolores, we can't see
Those
your
opposed?
hand. Dolores, can you come back on video, Dolores?
Oh. Okay, all in favor?
I still can't see Dolores.
Well, she can raise her virtual hand
That's true.
or say her words out loud.
Oh, there it is.
All in favor?
Oh,
We have Teresa, Paul, and Laura. Those opposed?
Okay,
Okay.
Okay, the ayes won. The ayes carry. And no abstentions, right?
Nope.
Okay. All right,
No.
moving on to the next item on the agenda.
Oh, me. Do you guys even want to have a long conversation about AB 361? I mean, the short report is simply that at the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners meeting yesterday.
which by the way, I attended also, Laura, so
right.
you know.
Right. So they basically seemingly have voted to keep neighborhood councils virtual as long as possible and to adopt the the protocols for AB 361. And then were you at the long part of the meeting where they went on later to
I
the?
believe I was there it was over 3 hours, so.
Yes.
Wow.
Oh, no, this was a short meeting compared to some of theirs.
Mm.
They then had a discussion that they were going to see going forward, could the committees stay more permanently on Zoom, even when the governing boards.
A hybridized model, yes.
Right. So that's my basic thing, is that they basically have adopted on our behalves, on all 99 neighborhood councils' behalf, plural, that they would be the entity that makes the monthly motion to keep us on virtual. And that's based on their motion in June locally, that they want to keep the neighborhood council meetings on Zoom as long as legally possible. So that's my
Okay.
report.
Okay, I have a comment on that, but I'm going to bring it up later regarding that, or should I bring it up now?
Whenever.
Then I'll just save it for when the agenda item I have.
Okay.
What agenda item?
It is a governing board agenda time allocation. That is number 10.
Okay. All right. Item 8, establish uniform procedures for tracking contacts with UNNC board members regarding attendance and other NC requirements. Dolores. Okay, I wanted this on the agenda because of the confusion that happened at our last meeting with regards to when contacts were made with our board members where it appeared that board members' attendance was we had errant board members. And so based on the information that I received, we agreed that an official letter would go out to those particular board members in requesting them to come to the executive committee meeting to give account of themselves with regards to their attendance. And then I think it was it Hugh Moore or was it Hugo, Laura? Where
Hugo.
I didn't, Hugo?
Hugo Rodriguez.
Okay, Hugo Rodriguez. I did not send him a copy.
No, it was Carl. It was you sent Hugo, but you didn't also send Carlos, who also had somewhat erratic things. So you asked me to forward it to him, but Hugo did get a letter.
Okay, all right. So when we get to the meeting, well, before the meeting, there was this huge discussion. It went from this to that. So the bottom line was that the special meetings are not considered regular meetings to be counted against one's attendance. But after further discussion with Gibson, and he agreed with me that there's possibility that we need to possibly change our bylaws.
Right.
I'm not at that point yet, but I did want to discuss how we were going to contact board members and when we would officially request them to come to the executive committee to give account of themselves with regards to their attendance, whether they wanted to continue, whether there was something going on with them. So I wanted a way to establish that we had contacted the board members. And so I wanted to do an initial phone call with the board member and figure out some kind of way where that would be documented, to not to tell them that you're errant and you're about to be removed, but to say your attendance has been a little sketchy and we were just wondering if there was something going on with you. Is it something that we can help you with? Blah, 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 blah. And depending on their answer. And if they missed the second meeting, then we would send out some sort of email or a text or something that says, you've missed your second meeting and we were just a little concerned. Is there's something going on? And the third meeting, we would send an official email or letter to the errant board members saying you have missed 3 consecutive meetings. We're requesting that you come to the executive committee and give us an explanation of what's going on. Do you plan to continue with the board? Are you thinking about resigning? What exactly is your position with representing your stakeholders in the area for the position that you're holding, or are you plan to leave, or just exactly what do you plan to do? And so that was my thought with regards to this. Ooh, crickets. Paul?
Yeah, so is there no standard process now that's, I presume, would be in our bylaws for how to address this? And if not, I mean, this sounds like a solid process.
It just basically, the bylaws just basically state that after missing 3, I think it's 3 consecutive meetings, and then there's a process that goes with that. But before you get to the 3 consecutive meetings, there is no process.
So this would essentially be adding to the bylaws, like a formal process, or no?
Something. I'm not sure, because it just needs to be cleared up. Laura?
Yeah, I think the reason they meaning whoever Gibson thinks maybe we need a bylaws change is more defining a regular meeting versus a special meeting. Meaning at this point, it's so open that it turned out, so again, remember I had this meeting with the city attorney. It was pre-planned to talk about Cal Greenworks, and also to talk about, for me personally, my conflict of interest potentially with the one case that we were following. But Gibson showed up, the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, to that meeting, and it became more of a meeting about how we were handling the board removals, because apparently Dunn, and then communicated to the city attorney, and then there I was, said that we don't have a good procedure we can't evidence when a person was told, we don't have any evidence of when they were actually contacted. And also they were concerned about that difference between special and regular. So it turns out that attending a special meeting also doesn't help you. Meaning, in other words, it was not just missing the June, if somebody missed we rescheduled our normal 1st of July board meeting to the last Tuesday of June, if you recall. So that became a special meeting as well. And so we don't have a clear process for what is a real board meeting. Does it really have to be on that day? And so that would be a bylaws change. But the procedural thing could either just be a process we adopt or adopt in the standing rules. But what we don't have is an actual sort of grid that says on this day, Greg texted Tom Smith, or on this day, Dolores made a phone call and left a voicemail for Mary Jones. So it's that sort of a grid of evidence, paper trail or some trail that we reached out in multiple ways to find out what was going on.
The other thing that came into question was the Dunn suspended one of our board members, but there was a question as to whether that would be marked as a suspension or whether that person would be marked absent because they didn't attend the meeting. So that needs to be specified as well, because it became very, very confusing.
Right. So
Teresa, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Thank you, Dolores. So if I understand you correctly, Dolores, you're asking us to come up with the procedure to document when we have reached out to delinquent board members. Could it be that when you, for instance, you contact somebody, you send an email to the executive board. I just contacted Teresa Masonette, and I said this to her. And then we put that email in correspondence. The secretary has a correspondence file, or a Google folder file, or maybe we have a special folder for that. And then when you say, you send them a text message, I just sent a text message, here's the text. And then we take that and we put that in the Google folder. And then when you send the final letter, or you mail the final letter and you email the final letter, whatever it is, we have that in the folder. And we now have a track from the vice president, who has contacted each person or each successive time on their behavior. I mean,
Right.
is that, you want something like that?
Yes, that's what I was trying to formulate in my mind, to come up with some kind of procedure, because when the training and attendance responsibilities was turned over to me, Greg had said that he had contacted the errant board members. Laura said that she had spoken with them, but we didn't have any specific dates and times that had happened.
Right.
And the discussion was around, well, yeah, they'd have missed so many meetings and they need to be contacted. So, okay, Dolores, it's time to send them an official communication from the board. But it turns out that it really wasn't, because we really couldn't document the contact that we had made with them.
Right.
So then I was a little frustrated, because it seemed like I was the bad guy trying to kick everybody off the board. So I just, that's what
So
it
how do
seemed
you
like.
like that idea, Dolores, that moving forward, that you, whoever, it's in your wheelhouse now, that you send the text or email, whatever you do, you send, you document it with an email, and then I can move it into the correspondence or some Google Drive, I'll call it, the delinquent board members or something. I'll come up with some kind of folder for it. And then we can always keep the correspondence in that folder. So if Dunn does say something, or someone comes back with a grievance, we can say, wait a minute, here, Dolores sent us an email saying on this day she talked to you. She followed up with a text message on this day, and we have an email. Okay, so I'll set that folder up.
All right, so is everybody agreed that we'll do that procedure from now on?
Yeah. I just have one question, since Raheem is actually here and kind of his specialty. Should we be, if Raheem is here, or I think you're here, should we add to that private messaging in Facebook, or is that just too much?
No, we should not contact somebody on Facebook. I'm sorry. I do not think that is appropriate.
Well, not publicly, not publicly. I meant I don't even know how to do it, private.
Yeah, I would not, if somebody sent me a
Okay,
direct
Raheem
message
saying
on
no.
Facebook-
Raheem saying no.
Oh, yeah.
I'm good with that answer.
Yeah.
I
that is
know,
not a
I'm
good
good with the
idea.
answer. We don't have to.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so now what about the suspension and the attendance issue? How do we deal with that?
Well, I have to say, what bothers me about the suspension issue, just to be blunt, is how Dunn is not applying it equally. So, for example, before you were on the board, Dolores, we had a board member. He was only a short termer. He was appointed to 6 months as an at-large Hunter. I don't remember his last name at the moment, but he took his code of conduct at the last minute, but they had given him almost immediately a suspension notice, not a suspension, a warning, the 30-day warning thing. Maybe that is a suspension notice, but they'd given him a notice, 30-day warning. He took it on his iPhone or his iPad, sent me and to Dunn the sort of the screenshot that showed that he had completed it, but they never got the certificate, and they just booted him off the board. And it was bing, bing, bing real fast. And then they told me after the fact that, well, we know that iPhones and iPads don't work very well with our Cornerstone system, which leads me to question, well, why are you creating a system that doesn't work with all devices? So they were really fast. Then on Isaac, much more, more recently, he expired his code of conduct in July, and they didn't even notify him and suspend him until October 1st. So I don't know why they were Johnny on the spot with one and months late on the other. And I had talked about it, I had sent emails, Greg had sent emails. We were wondering when they were doing it. So I don't know that we have the right to send those suspension notices. I don't think we do, but I am concerned that Dunn is not treating everybody across the board equally.
Well, that might very well be, Laura, but that's not my issue. That's not my concern. My
Okay.
concern is if Dunn suspends somebody and they're not at the meeting, are they absent? Do I mark absent or do I mark suspended?
Oh, they're not members of the board during their suspension, so they're not absent. They don't count. I mean, they could be present, but they're not marked present either. For, if they're suspended for 30 days or for other reasons, they can be suspended for 90 days for reasons having to do with conduct, not training. They are not members of the board during the suspension. So,
okay,
yeah.
So then if Teresa has missed July and August, and then she is suspended in September, then she is marked suspended for September, and then she comes back to the meeting in October. So she's not errant.
I think not. I mean, assuming she actually came back. I mean, she thought better of her poor ways. Sorry, we shouldn't have used Teresa. Let's say it's somebody named Sally. So somebody we haven't met named Sally. I don't really know, but I don't think if Dunn has suspended somebody for any particular reason, I don't think we can count that as an absent per our bylaws. And that would be a bylaws change if we wanted to. But I also feel, given that Dunn is at this point considering this new whole code of conduct thing that gives them the right to suspend people without appeal, I don't know that we should, it may be an unfair suspension. So I don't know that we would count. It may be a totally fair suspension. I mean, it's hard to know. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't think so.
Paul?
Just want to say that, I mean, at least in terms of the vote on the BAC, look, whether they're absent or suspended, I mean, there is the whatever category of ineligible. I mean, that sort of covers maybe this scenario if we can't decide tonight, like exactly how we're going to handle this.
Maybe that would, okay. Well, maybe I'll draft up some stuff and then put it back on the agenda and we can figure it out. Have Gibson weigh in on it. Okay. So I'm done with that unless anybody else has any questions. All right. 9, designate authorized UNNC representative to acquire 2021 NC digital and physical election records from the city clerk. Determine whether UNNC will receive physical material and storage of election records. Teresa, you got the floor.
Thank you, Dolores. This was a conversation I had with Laura. You guys probably received it too. We got a notice from the elections committee with Dunn saying that our actual ballots were available if we wanted to pick them up. So my question is this: do we want to pick them up? Because if not, then they will dispose of them. And if we do pick them up, how are we going to store them? How long are we going to store them? And do we also want a digitalized copy of the records? I think Laura said that Lizzie is interested in picking them up, but I'm more concerned about having actual ballots that may have personal information from the voters and protecting that information and then storing it, and then somebody in 3 years or 5 years remembering that we need to shred it. So that's kind of the discussion I'd like to have.
Why would we want the election records?
I think Lizzie should answer that.
Lizzie?
I did not know that we had an option to not have them.
We do, I believe we do have an option.
Well, okay, I'm just throwing it out there. Why would we want them? The election is over. Why would we want them? Laura?
What they said in the email, I think, or in a prior email, Lizzie was the election chair and I was the co-chair or sub-chair, whatever other chair, not the chair. In previous conversations with our election administrator, who is no longer with the department. So the last email is from somebody who's a stranger to us. It was potentially, I guess, mining the email addresses for outreach. I mean, I don't really know.
But you did talk to them though, right, Laura? So we can, or you corresponded with him, right?
I had corresponded, but then I hadn't carefully enough read. I mean, in other words, it does appear as if it's two different things. The digital records, whatever they may be, which we don't know, and the physical records may be the actual ballot applications. We now noting we do already have about 20 of the ballot applications because with Arlington Heights, we had the personal help fill out applications event, right? You know, so we have 20 applications thereabouts of people, but I didn't think we could use, I did not think we could mine the email addresses and upload them into the MailChimp. And I mean, that's not how the MailChimp works. We can't just, I don't think we can just add people.
I think we're getting off topic here.
Well, yes, but your question was, why would we want them? So I think one of the answers they were giving us is that then we would be able to add these people to our database, but I don't think we can in MailChimp. I don't think MailChimp allows us to simply add 20 or 30 or 40 people. But I don't know what the whole of the records are. So one portion is digital, where they said if you appoint someone to receive it, they'll email it to that person plus the president and vice president. And the other portion was the physical ballots that you go down to the clerk's office on appointment and pick them up. So you were right when I reread it. It's two different things.
Right. And we do not have to pick them up, Dolores, and that they will dispose of them properly and securely. So if we don't want them, we don't have to do that.
Mhm.
I would say maybe it's a good idea to keep the digitalized ballots. If we want to do something, we can put it on that hard drive that we have, but I don't even know if we need to do that.
Paul?
Yeah, I guess a couple of thoughts here. I mean, one, if we want to take these records, I don't think in terms of the physical record, the paper record, that we really have a proven secure means to do that or any kind of a long-term solution. So that's, to me, is like a no-go, not a good idea.
Right.
Digital records, okay, maybe, because we do have Google Drive or it's secure. I mean, I think the overriding issue here for me personally is just the privacy issues related to whatever's on those documents or in those documents. I mean, I think the other reason might be theoretically like integrity of the elections, like you would want to have some basis to go back and confirm something, but I think in our realm, I don't think that's likely to be a concern. So to me, what's driving it is just keeping records private, confidential information private, and it seems like digitally is probably the easiest way to go, because if we leave the records with the city, they're going to destroy the physical document. So we only need to concern ourselves with the digital record. That's where I'd be wanting to put my efforts.
Lizzie, and then Teresa.
One alternative would be for us to have the control of destroying the records instead of leaving it up to the city to do that. So I don't know. I mean,
Okay,
it's always a
Teresa?
possibility. So
Thank you,
I
Dolores.
make myself available to pick them up if the board decides that they want them.
Teresa?
What I'm hearing is that nobody really wants to deal with the hard copies. But if Lizzie wants to be the designee to receive the digitalized ballots, and I have no idea, they could actually be like actual ballots that were scanned in or applications, I don't know. But if we want to designate Lizzie to do that, because she's already done, the election work, and then that would also be emailed to you and Laura, then we can somehow store it somewhere safely.
Paul?
I would just say that, no disrespect to anyone who wants, Lizzie, this is going to be directed at you, but I just think we should think long and hard anytime we want to take a process upon ourselves, either as a team, as a executive committee, or as an individual, because if there's no process in place that we can rely upon to, like, Lizzie, if you disappear, is anyone going to remember like what the process was? Like, if there's already a pre-existing process, in this case, it's the destruction of the record by the city, we should lean on that, rely on that, instead of creating a whole new process. That we already have so much on our plates. I think, like, if we can say safely and comfortably we can leave this with the city, we should do that and not take on a new burden, no matter how light it seems.
So
That's my comment.
it seems like the flavor of the board is to receive the records digitally and maybe be stored on the hard drive.
Mhm.
Right.
I'm good with that.
Oh,
I'm good with that, but Teresa, do you mean the remote hard drive, not the Google Drive? Because my concern would be
I mean the remote one.
perfect.
Yes.
Yeah, because my concern would be somebody hacks in. So if it's stored on our remote hard drive, I'd be good with that.
okay. So the designated person would be.
Lizzie.
Can I just ask a question? Do we still need Lizzie to be?
We
This is
have to
not against you,
designate,
Lizzie.
yeah, we need to designate what they're saying is designate a person and then plus president and vice president. So it could
Okay.
be Teresa, it could be Lizzie,
No.
it could be Paul.
No, it's Lizzie. Lizzie is the one who showed interest. Go ahead. Paul.
Paul?
Yeah, I just want to, I guess, sort of to my point, we are adding another process or a
Mhm.
procedure. Someone's going to have to always be doing this. We're going to have to remember to do this. Is the content of what's in those records going to be that valuable to us and future board members that we should do this? Is my question to the board.
I mean,
Should we
whether we
make it-
should, so your question to the board is whether we should even accept the records digitally?
Yeah, exactly. Should we just let them be destroyed and let the city do it? And because I don't personally know exactly what's in those records. You all seem to have more knowledge. Is the information in there really that important?
Not me. I don't know what the city has on us. Laura?
Yeah, well, no, that's exactly, I also do not know exactly what the record contains. So I guess I would say, we should move this forward as an agenda item to the board with, well, no, we don't have, it has to be voted on by the board. It's not the executive
No, it
committee.
doesn't. That is not what the email said. It said that
Oh.
we can designate someone to obtain the records. And when I
Okay,
read it, it says the hard records. But if we want to do the digital, I don't think we have to go to the board to determine if we can do it. We can do it as a courtesy or because we're unable to decide here, but I don't read it that way. Lizzie, what are your thoughts as the election chairperson? Do you
I'm
feel,
going to get them.
no, but do you
Huh?
feel it's necessary for us to maintain the
I
digital copy?
would like to know what we will be getting.
Right.
Just because right now we're wondering, we don't know.
Yeah.
So for the future, because this was our first vote by mail.
Right.
Mhm.
So it'd
Okay,
be
so
interesting.
then-
I think it'd be informational for us to know what are the records, what the
So-
records are.
So when they mean digitally, they would be emailing the records to us.
Yes.
And so it would be emailed to you, Lizzie,
We haven't designated her yet, but
Oh,
yes, it would be you
or
and Laura.
whomever. It
Yeah.
would be emailed to the designated person plus the president and vice president.
correct.
Okay, so then
And-
that means that it would be stored in our computers?
No, it would be stored on this. Well, I don't know, but ultimately, if we're going to do that, I know what Paul's talking about, but if we do it, we could put it on this hard drive, which is 5 terabytes, which would hold, all the Zoom meetings and any other confidential stuff, I guess. I mean, I don't know, but I would probably come up with the date to destroy it. So we'd just say we're going to keep it for a year or 2 years, and then we're going to destroy it.
Right. I would not like to receive that information because my computer is shared. And I wouldn't want to be responsible for that personal information. So not me.
Okay.
So we're gonna, what's the flavor of the board to receive it? The recommendation to the governing board would be to designate a person and to receive it digitally. I can't talk. And it would also be stored on the remote thingy that Teresa has.
Hard drive.
Hard drive.
I'm good with that. I'm convinced now.
Okay, is that the flavor of us?
This whole vote by mail was such a,
I hated it.
By the way, they're asking for participants.
I saw that. I was
give
thinking about
feedback
applying.
back. So, yeah. So you might want to consider giving your feedback, Dolores.
Okay.
Okay, I'm not the physical. Is that what is that the motion we're recommending to the governing board?
Motion to appoint Lizzie and to receive the digital. Wait a minute, what happened to it?
Digital election materials, but not the physical. Okay, now wait a minute. And that we would store on the remote hard drive, right?
To be destroyed after 1 year?
I would say to be destroyed after whenever it is we're allowed to destroy them, which we should know by the time. I mean, in other words, if we have to hold it for 2 years, we should know that before the board vote. I don't know the timeline. There is a timeline. It might have been in the email.
Okay.
Was it, Teresa, in the email?
No, I don't remember it. It may have been, but I don't remember. And
Right.
also, it wasn't telling us when when we should destroy it. It was saying when they're going to destroy it.
Right. They were right. They were going to hold it for a minimum. For them, the time elapses in December. I just don't know if that's the same meaning that we hold it for 5 months and then we can destroy it. I can verify that. There is going to be a timeline per the Public Records Act, after which we don't have to keep it. I just don't know what it is off the top of my head.
Paul?
And then just to modify the motion, I think instead of specifying Lizzie, because Lizzie, you're the head of the election subcommittee, or?
I was the chair of the elections committee.
So, because I was going to suggest maybe whoever is the chair, but maybe we don't have that person yet, so Lizzie makes sense, but I wanted to make it more generic.
Yeah, we have to either designate, we have to name a person.
Yeah, we
Okay.
have to
Right.
name a
That's
person.
good then, I'm fine with it.
So
But also, when you whenever we do however we go about doing that, Laura, we need to make sure that it's just emailed to the designee and the president, not the vice president.
right.
Just-
Right. So with that, are we doing a motion? Because I just typed. I mean, I can make the motion. Like, oh, I'm good. Laura moves.
Okay.
But it needs-
Second, do we have a second?
I'll
All
second.
seconds,
Oh,
Okay, Paul
Paul.
seconds.
beat you to it, Teresa.
All in favor? Raise
I,
your hand.
I,
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Okay, next item.
it's the agenda format item for Teresa.
yes, okay, so Laura and I have been going back and forth on this AB 361. What Dunn has recommended and what they say is that best practices, there's several different elements to this AB 361. One is that when you allot a certain amount of time, you have to leave that open in case somebody saw the agenda and said, oh, they're going to be talking about, suspension until 7:30. So we cannot end before 7:30 because we need to leave it open for the public if they want to come in and comment on that particular item.
Right.
I agree that for public comments, we should definitely maintain that. If we put on there for 10 minutes, then we should leave it open. Even if we don't get any comments, we should leave that open. It's a, you know, that's one of our responsibilities to our community. But we need to have times on our agenda. We exceed our time limit on every single item. And just now we're starting to get to the point where our parliamentarian has said we've elapsed the time on this item. We need to make a motion to extend it, and we are extending it by 5 minutes. If we do not do that, and we have an open-ended without any time, we will have really, really long meetings. And even though they say it's best practice for us, for 90 of the 99 neighborhood councils, it could be best practice, but for our neighborhood council, it is not a best practice. Our best practice is to have a time limit, and that is the only way we're going to get through our agenda, respecting our, not only the board members' time, but the people who show up who want to hear about a particular agenda. So I know Laura has a different opinion, so I'd like to hear what she has to say, and then I'd like for us to reach some kind of consensus on this.
Okay, before Laura responds, I just wanted to comment that there is no time limits on this agenda, because I read that and it made sense to me. So I said I would just leave it open for this meeting, and then we would decide what we were going to do at our meeting. So that's why it's nothing there now. Go ahead, Laura.
Well, Teresa, I actually agree with you. I don't disagree with you. I like having times on the agenda. I like being able to say, you know, when we ever get to the oil drilling case, maybe it's December, maybe it's January now, I want to be able to say, oh my God, it's going to be 45 minutes. And we put 45 minutes on, and then we put 5 minutes on other things, because that's the right way to do. People have an expectation that something will be a long discussion. I don't know how defiant I wish to be, I'm using the I word, of done at this moment. I think done is incorrect. I don't necessarily think that the AB 361, which is very confusing and very complex, I don't necessarily think it says you can never put a time on an agenda. But
it does not say that. You're right.
Right. I'm saying I agree with you. I think done is overreaching, but we have so many issues right this second trying to get done to do this and that and the other and get answers that they're not giving us, that I'm not sure for the November meeting, I want to be 100% defiant, but I agree with you.
Okay.
So
thank you very much, Laura. But
we're
not being defiant, because what they say is best practices. It doesn't say you must do this. You shall have no time limits. It says best practices. Well, for us, best practice is having time, because that is the only way, because we have people who are opinionated, who feel the need to comment on every single thing. And because of that, and plus our committees do not do enough work. So when they come to the board, everybody's having a lot of discussion about everything instead of having stuff resolved when it was in the committee. So we need that. So if you are in agreement with that, then I think that we no longer need to discuss this. It is not being defiant. It is doing what's best for our neighborhood council.
If I may just finish what one of my suggestions was going to be, though. One of my suggestions was to, we have all of that after the agenda itself. We have paragraph after paragraph after paragraph of explanation about public comments and this and that. I really wouldn't mind if the very first paragraph after we have committee adjournment is a summary of our standing rules that state how we handle agenda items, that most agenda, I'm summarizing now, that most agenda items should not exceed 10 minutes with 5-minute presentation and 5 minutes discussion, whatever it says in the standing rules. I think we should add a boilerplate paragraph right there before we move on to anything else. And that might help. And again, I agree with you that there should be times. So.
Paul?
Yeah, so I mean, honestly, whether we have time on the agenda or we change it to where it's, the modified version, the best practice from done, I don't think it really matters for our neighborhood council. We just go long. It's other issues that are driving why it goes long. It's not how it's designated on the agenda. So but for me, look, it's a best practice. It's a suggestion or a recommendation. It's not a requirement. It's not mandated. If we're comfortable with keeping it the way we've been doing it and we feel it works for us, we should be comfortable and confident in our own shoes about that and just determined to continue doing it the way we've been doing until Dunn wades in and says otherwise. That's my feeling about it. I'm comfortable with time limits. I think they help to signal to the audience, about how much, like Laura was saying, or Teresa both. I'm comfortable keeping it the way it is.
I'm comfortable with leaving it the way it is as well. Like I said, I just put it like this for matters of discussion. But I think, what's her name? Nancy tends to get run over because of people, like Teresa said, opinionated and want to talk. I think we need to go back to what we used to do when Jeff Kemp was president and put a timer on each person. And that just kind of reminds folks, you need to stop talking because we're cutting you off.
Was the timer, was this in the real world or in the virtual world?
Real world.
Real world.
Yeah, so there are like technology solutions that could do similar things to that, but I don't think we have that capability in Zoom.
Right.
This app doesn't allow it, but
yeah.
So
we tried for the candidates forum because there's like a Sky timer, but it's not very reliable because I attended another candidates forum and it kept malfunctioning.
Right. I think, well, the way it could work, but we just don't have anybody who wants to be on 2 Zooms at once. If somebody was willing to have 2 computers, one of their Zoom screens can be, and they'd have to dial in from a different device is the point, can just be a timer. But that's distracting. So Carlos had done that for the CD10 candidates forum. So as a volunteer to that, he was running a computer with a timer. And I had actually discussed with him the possibility, could he do that for us? And he actually said he'd do it, but as you know, he's ended up being in Louisiana quite a bit. So he can't do it when he's on the road. So that's not a good, we need someone who's there every month at a desk. I mean, in other words, if we wanted to do that. But I would also say this, what we really need is not just the parliamentarian, we need the moderator. So Jeff Camp was performing that function for us in the first 6-7 months of Zoom because he was also the CD10 person assigned to be at our meetings. So he was just combining his love of UNNC with his job. But since he's moved to a different council office, he can't do that anymore. So the moderator was the person, really kind of watching the time of people, whereas the parliamentarian is the one to remind us all about the 10-minute time frame broadly is elapsed. Nancy shouldn't have to be the person every 2 minutes or every 1 minute. I mean, we really need that one other person. And Asai had volunteered to do it, but never did. And then, resigned. I mean, in other words, we've gone, nobody really wants to be the person to do that task because people get mad. It can't be the person cheering either. So John Arnold has done it. I'm sorry, Paul, you said you do it?
I said, find a new signatory and I'd be happy to do it.
Oh.
Teresa?
Thank you, Dolores. Our problem is not that most people disrespect the 1-minute time limit. It's that is not applied to everyone. Most of us get 1 minute to comment, and then the president has to comment on that. And then 2 or 3 people comment, and then the president comes back to comment on that. The president is not following the 1 minute allocation for the president, where the rest of us have to follow that. I really think that what needs to happen is we need to respect the parliamentarian. When she says that we've elapsed and the time is up, that means the conversation is done. The president can no longer talk. No one can talk. We determine that if we're going to continue the conversation, a motion has to be made, it has to be seconded, and maybe a vote, and then we continue. And that has to be practiced. it cannot be disrespected. I mean, and that's what happened last time, frankly, Laura. It was very rude when she said that. You continue to talk. And I'm just saying that if we're allowed 1 minute, then everybody needs to follow that. It cannot be, the president comes back and continues to say, what about this? And what if that? And this thing and that thing. It has to be respected by everyone.
Paul?
Yeah, so I mean, kind of to Teresa's point, if we start doing that and we just, discussion's done, we do the vote, and then we subsequently find that, we made a mistake in that motion, or we didn't have, ample enough discussion, can't we as a board just bring it back to the next meeting and fix or reopen that particular issue that was not correctly done? I mean, how disruptive is that to the process than just talking longer than, is scheduled?
Do you want me to answer that?
I mean,
there's a technical, there is a technical way to do a reconsideration of a motion, of a action item. The technical way is a person who voted in favor of whatever it was has to make a request to the secretary to add a motion for reconsideration to the next agenda. So it's very technical. So if somebody is upset because it didn't go their way, they're not the person who can ask for the reconsideration. It has to be a person who voted in favor. So that's probably not the ideal circumstance, but that's the process.
Okay, so we're taking, again, too much time on this item.
Yeah.
So what are we gonna do?
Well, I think the agreement is that we're going to try and go ahead and go back to agenda time format the way we've always done it. I don't think we need to vote on that.
Okay.
Well, we only would need to vote on that to give, so I can explain to Gibson, but I don't think we need to vote.
And we don't need to explain to Gibson. We don't have to explain to him. It says best practices, and this is our best practice.
Right.
Right.
That's, I'll put it in the meeting minutes.
So the action is that we're going to go back to the way it was is with regards to the format, and we're going to respect Nancy, our parliamentarian, when she says time. Okay. Next item, creation of item 11, creation of ad hoc committee for new member onboarding. Teresa.
Thank you, Dolores. So I've been giving some thought to, Greg, I printed out this big document of the handbook that Greg did some work on. And I was just thinking about what happened when I came on board. The very first meeting we had was bickering between Laura and Greg and other people if the new people were allowed to vote, or did we have to get sworn in first? There was this whole procedural thing. And to be quite honest with you, I still don't even know what the procedure is for that. But I think when new members come on, maybe we should have the handbook. We should say, here's a copy of all of the committees and the alliances. Here's a procedure if you want to start a new committee. Yes, people can start new committees. Even if they just bring in presenters, there's a way that can happen. If you want business cards, here's the form, or here's what you do. Or if you want to have a QR code so you can communicate with your constituents electronically. Maybe we need to have a little package or a little, here's the training that you're required to take, and you have 30 days to do it. And if not, then you have 60 days or you're going to be suspended, or whatever the procedure is. But if we have a package or a binder and say, here you go, this is how you can be your best when you come to the board meetings, and how you can be successful here. And I don't know what Paul was, I chit-chatted with him about it, but I don't know if anybody has any ideas on it. If it's not a good idea, it's okay. I was just thinking about it.
Okay, so we have the handbook. I think Greg was waiting on the bylaws or something or other to add to it until we could finish it. But
I didn't get a handbook. I mean, I have the draft that is printed off.
It's not
Right.
complete. Because a lot of things had changed and we were trying to update it before we passed it out to everybody or sent it to everybody digitally. So I don't know that we need a ad hoc committee. We just need to complete our handbook.
And then what is the process for people knowing about business cards or about the committees and the alliances? When do they learn about that?
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah,
Well,
I like the
maybe
handbook
maybe that could be
idea.
added to the handbook.
Right.
Okay,
I'll get back because I was working with Greg on the handbook. I'll get back with him and see where we are
okay.
and get that back in the forefront. Okay, item 12, presentation of stakeholder citizen award. Teresa, you got a lot of stuff on here.
Yes, I do. Thank you very much, Dolores. But you know what? I have no problem postponing that again because there are a couple other things that I want to, and I really want to get to the inventory. I mean, there are a couple other things that we really, and if we're going to try it in at 9:30, I'm okay.
Okay, you want to table it till next next agenda?
Yes.
Okay. Zoom meeting protocols, Teresa.
Okay. So I attend two city committees. One is the CFAC, which is a Community Forest Advisory Committee. Those people are appointed by the CDs and then they're approved by the mayor. And then the other one is an emergency preparedness one that is overseen by Neighborhood Council Commissioner Lynn Schaefer, Laura. On both those committees, the chat is open. So people can put in comments. There are other things that go in the chat. I asked Laura recently to open our chats and she said, well, technically, blah, blah, blah. I am asking the board to have our chats open. Laura is afraid that people will say mean things in the chat. And I'm saying that we cannot manage by fear and we cannot manage by the exception. If one person, we cannot always say, oh, well, we can't do that because this may happen. Well, if it happens, then we'll make the adjustment to that. I'd like for the chat to be open when we're having our governing board meetings.
Did you want me to say something?
Well, no, it's Dolores, it's committee, so Dolores can decide.
I don't care one way or the other.
Okay.
I mean, all the Zoom meetings that I attend, the chat is open. So I never really paid any attention to it not being open. I mean, she put some motions in there, but it never crossed my mind.
Well, it's not about the motions. If I wanted to send you something right now, Dolores, I can't send it to you. I can only send it to the host. And what happened a month or two ago, someone sent me while they were hosting, sent me a message. And I didn't see it till way into the meeting. And then I couldn't respond because they were no longer hosting. And I know I'm going to hear some nonsense now. It's going to really anger me, but I do not, if there are other meetings, Dolores, if there are city meetings that have the chat open, then our chat needs to be open too.
Paul and then Teresa.
Paul, you're mute. Paul, you're mute.
I know, but I was like, my screen moved around again. I was like, where did I go? I can't find it to unmute. Anyway, I was saying that my experience with city meetings is that some of them have the chat open and some don't. Also, you know, like in the private realm where I'm most of the time working, spending my time, it depends on the purpose of the meeting. Sometimes, and the numbers of people who are attending, they may be open, they may be closed. I guess for me, I would want to try to create an environment online, virtually, that kind of mirrors what's happening in a live meeting. So to me, that argues more for having the chat closed, because during a meeting, people sit there quietly when it's live in person, and they're not necessarily chatting with each other. So but I take your point, Teresa, when someone's trying to reach out to you and say something that is relatively important, how do you communicate that virtually? So unless there is a, you know, a restriction by the city, it seems to me, again, it comes back to like how we are deciding about to represent time limits in our agenda. We decide for our own board, you know, for our own meetings, for our own council, how we want to handle this. You know, there's nothing that says that we can't try it, and then if it becomes problematic, we close it down again. Have we ever had it open as a matter of practice?
I don't know. I haven't been in you guys. Laura?
Yeah, well, in fact, the last governing board meeting chat was open, and there was mostly, Teresa, you're speaking. Teresa, you're mute, I'm sorry. Teresa, did you want to say
Yes,
something?
it was not open, Laura.
Teresa, can we wait till she finishes?
Yes.
Okay,
Laura?
well, actually, I'm looking at it right now. It actually was open. I mean, I see lots of comments to everyone from lots of people. So I don't know. It's possible, Teresa, that somebody actually purposefully chatted with you personally and you didn't see it. But I forgot to turn it off at the last governing board meeting, and it was open, and I just reviewed it because Lewis South was making remarks and Brittany Liu.
Oh, yes.
And Elizabeth
Yes.
Fenner made a remark, so it was open, and I actually didn't mean to have it open. What Dunn and the city attorney have said, but I don't mind experimenting, since I accidentally did do so at the last meeting, and it's open now too, is to try and keep it open, but with the caveat up front that what we're not supposed to be doing with it is making comments on agenda items. That's the issue, that in the Brown Act, because remember, there are people who are dialing in and they're not seeing the video, so they can't see the chat. So they're not seeing the comments, and it becomes an issue of public access. So that's why we're supposed to not be doing that. And yet I know, I agree with you, I do put the motions there and ask people to use the chat if they're having trouble raising their hand. But again, I don't mind trying it and just see if it doesn't blow up.
Teresa, and then Paul.
Thank you, Dolores. First of all, the chat was open to everyone. So I could not send a message to Paul. I'd have to put a message in to everyone. So it was open in the sense that anybody could chat, but I could not send a personal message. And that's what I'm talking about. And I know you know that, Laura, because that's the discussion we've had. Secondly, I'm happy that you're open to that. And I would like to see how it works. Maybe no one will send a message to anybody, but if somebody says something to me, I'd like to be able to respond to them. And if we do have somebody, a bad actor that comes on board and you know, an idiot, then maybe we stop doing it.
Oh,
Yeah, I guess, does the organizer of the Zoom meeting have enough control to I mean, because isn't really the issue here that, is it that the executive members of the board are maybe missing communications? I mean, Teresa, is that your concern more, or is it more of a, like,
No,
what is the concern? Because if
my concern is that I am
hold on.
unable to say something to someone who says something to me. And it was a few meetings ago when the presenters for the branding presentation, one of the guys commented on my Keith Haring. And I could not respond and say thank you, because I'd have to respond and say thank you in the chat to everybody, but I could not respond directly to him because he no longer had hosting, because he had it when he was doing the presentation. And I didn't see it in time until much later. And I was like, oh shit, he just responded to me. He said something to me and I couldn't respond. So I know that we're not supposed to have conversations about the agenda, blah, blah, blah. But if I were to say to Dolores privately, Dolores, did you say that Greg wasn't going to be here today? And then she could say, yes, he's not going to be here. And then I could say, oh, okay. It's just the ability to say something to someone else without it having to go through the entire, to everybody, as it says.
Is there any way for the Zoom settings for the organizer to allow communication to,
You open it up,
specific
Paul.
numbers?
She can open it up.
Actually, because I'm checking right this second, for example, I could not open it up. I've been looking at the settings. So I would have to look in the protocols, in my settings. We have to look in the master settings, not in the middle of the meeting settings. However, I do not believe we're supposed to be having essentially that would be private chat. And that's the same thing as sitting in a governing board meeting and using your phone to text another board member. We're not supposed to do that in a government meeting. So I'm not, so there's the maybe how to handle it technologically, but then there's the question of should we, and I don't know. And the other, I just don't know. I don't know.
Okay,
So I
don't think
can
there's much
always
support
make you,
there for it, so don't
Teresa,
worry
I can
about it.
always make you a host if this is important to you, because at that point, anyone can text you, chat with you. You can chat back. That's an individual thing I can do apparently easily.
Laura, I don't think that was her point.
I know.
Can we find out what the protocol is, proper protocol is, and
Yeah.
table this to our next meeting,
Okay.
or table it till the governing board?
Right. Well, have it. I mean, I'll just
through our meeting first, Dolores, to work
Okay.
it out. Okay, thank you very much, Dolores.
Table this to the next governing board meeting, and you find out what are the ins and outs of that is. Yes, Lizzie.
Can I just say one thing? So last month, yes, I noticed that the chat was different because we kept seeing Louis South making sort of like a play-by-play comment on what the meeting was on what, it was just so odd, and I felt inappropriate because if he had a comment to make, he should have raised his hand like all of us, and not this. It was distracting. So I would have a problem because it's hard for me to keep attention on the chat while we're having a meeting. It's distracting. It's distracting enough to have to read the motions and to see comments from people. I just don't think so. And Teresa,
Okay.
I'm sorry that happened to you, but it really was a Keith Haring commentary. I think that could have.
Yeah, but it's
No, hold it. We've had enough discussion
all
on
right.
this.
Thank you. We're gonna
Okay, so
table it.
our action is going to be Laura is going to check what the protocols are with regards to that, and it's going to be tabled until our next executive committee meeting. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Next item is 14 and Zumwickel's proposal for uploading Zoom meetings to YouTube.
Yes.
Teresa.
Thank you very much. So I had been texting Raheem and Doug and Ann about what we're going to do with our Zoom meetings and how we can get them uploaded. This is all part of when it's not on the agenda this time, but we had discussed about the meeting minutes and what we're going to do about those meeting minutes and all this other stuff. So Doug, and then it was reiterated by Ann that they do a trial of doing 5 of them, which I'm under the impression that will be part of their regular work, to upload them and put them on our YouTube account. Yes, we have 2 YouTube accounts. We have no idea how to access the first one because there was no continuity of government. So if there was a password or something, it was never passed down. So I believe we should just use the one that we have been using. Right now, there are 5 different Zoom meetings on it. It's also the one where our election
Candidates forum.
Our candidates forum, thank you, Lizzie, is posted. We in the future, I believe we should aim toward having our Zoom meetings live. They go directly to YouTube, so we won't have to have our webmaster upload them. It can be streamed directly to YouTube. That's what I have, Laura.
Raheem and then Laura.
Oh.
No, I was just clapping for Teresa for having the suggestion of having them go straight to YouTube.
Okay, Laura.
Yeah, Raheem, I actually want to know, is it possible to essentially share from the YouTube one that we don't have admin on, I guess, can we share those videos to the YouTube that we do have admin on, and then we have them all in the same place? And then essentially, if we can't eliminate the old one, we just let it die its own non-existent death? Because that was the question I had asked. How, I don't know how Teresa, it doesn't matter.
I
had
got
already-
involved because it was taking so long, Laura.
Because I had
taking
asked
so long.
Doug and Raheem to identify, we couldn't have two, we needed just one, to please identify the one and go with that. But I didn't ever get the answer that you have gotten, which is great, which is we have no access to the first one. But so my question now is, can we share whatever videos are there, if they're important, to our real one? And
The one that we have
Hold it,
now.
Teresa.
Okay,
Teresa?
sorry, Dolores.
because
Go ahead.
that's a question for Raheem.
Okay, Raheem, can you respond to that, please?
Yeah, there's nothing on the old YouTube that's important or imperative. So there's no
Okay.
need to further investigate that other YouTube account.
Okay,
And if
Teresa.
that- Thank you, Dolores. And at any point, it becomes a problem, we can migrate all of those videos over to the other one. And that is a very easy transition if it ever became a legal issue because this one was set up originally and whatever. It'd be very easy to migrate those over, but I don't believe that's going to be a problem. We have one that we've used recently. That is the one we should do. And the other reason why I'm mentioning is that, I mean, we have 119 Zoom meetings. And at the Murphy Oil meeting, the planning and zoning, Laura mentioned several times that we're going to have access. They're going to need access to this. They're going to need access or want access to this meeting. So how is that going to happen?
I've already received public records requests, and I've already provided them the copies of the Zoom meetings.
Right. You have done that.
Because
what
I
about
am
other people?
because
Laura,
finish.
let her finish, please. Teresa?
Thank you, Dolores. The way that happens is you have to go through Laura to get that. And our constituents should not have to go through Laura to access that meeting. It should be in a public forum where they can go and watch it themselves. If somebody right now said, oh, well, yeah, the Murphy Oil site, how do I see that? And I'm like, well, you got to contact Laura and she'll email it to you or give you a hard drive, a flash drive or something like that. We need to make a concerted effort to start moving forward progressively. I have some other ideas, which we say for another time, about our Facebook, our YouTube, our digital presence. I was at that thing yesterday, Laura, when the neighborhood council was talking about digital media. Who's our account? We haven't even identified our account administrator. Who is that? Well, it should be Raheem or Gabby or somebody in the communication who manages all of our accounts. The default is the president, but we can have many people and we can assign it to someone. So I'm just saying that I would like for us to make an effort to get these Zoom meetings up. And I don't know, it may be expensive. I don't know. Anne's going to get back to us, but we need to make an effort to do that.
Laura?
Yeah, so Teresa, I'd appreciate if it's not constantly about me. The official keeper of the record for any neighborhood council, so it's a thing, is the president. So a public records request, whatever it may be, is forwarded to the president. So that's not about Laura. Laura happens to be president right now, and she responds to many public records requests that you may not be aware of. It's not always about
It would
Zoom.
not be necessary if the video was on YouTube. Sorry to cut you off.
So,
Thank you. So my point is that public records requests always go to the president, whatever the record may be. And I usually would get a email from Dunn or from the city attorney because they would have received the public record request. So it doesn't usually come straight to me, but the advice they have given me related in particular to Zoom meetings is if somebody asks you for it, just give it to them as fast as you can. So I do.
okay,
And-
but Laura,
But-
in getting back to her question,
Mhm.
is there a problem with uploading it to
No.
YouTube?
Nothing at all. No problem at all.
So-
I was only waiting for well, I'm sorry. This is a circle and it shouldn't be so angry. I had already asked Ann and Doug to provide us and Raheem's been copied on this, to provide the estimate. They did say they can do it basically within the budget we already have, so we would not need, not every committee meeting, or what I had asked, it was governing board meetings. So not even executive, I had not asked. But on the governing board meetings past and going forward, they can do it within the money we've already contracted for them. And then Doug said, but we have two YouTube accounts. And I said, we need to have only one. So we now have the answer on that. So I think the governing board meetings can be readily uploaded past. So Teresa now is also bringing up future, and I mean, we're just working on it. I feel like this doesn't need to be so contentious or so individually aimed, because we're just trying to get it done. And that's my answer. We're just trying to get it done.
Okay, Laura. Teresa?
Thank you, Dolores. It's individually aimed because I feel you've been the bottleneck with getting this done, Laura. And also, I am not just asking for governing board meetings. There are planning and zoning meetings. There are other meetings that I feel that should be uploaded. If you don't want to do the environmental meeting because there are only 3 people there, okay. But we definitely should have the planning and zoning meetings along with the governing board. And I don't even know, maybe even the executive committee meetings, but if we can get them uploaded, I would really like to see some forward momentum with that. Thank you, Dolores.
Okay, so where are we with this? Because there's an action on it.
Well, but I think, okay. The action, the agenda item called Ann Zumwinkle's proposal for uploading Zoom meetings to YouTube is that we're gonna do it. So I don't know that we have to vote.
Okay.
If we discover there's additional monies involved, that has to come back with a specific funding request. But as long as it's within her ability to do it, I don't think we need to take an action other than to just do it. If it being what we had discussed with her previously, unless Raheem wants to jump in, we had discussed governing board. I hear Teresa is also wanting planning and zoning. We have no objection to that, but can she do that also within our contract?
So
Ann did not get back to me today. I mean, she sent me an email, but I think I'd like some clarification. What do we want uploaded? Are we ever going to have all of the Zoom meetings uploaded? Or are we going to decide just to have the governing board or just to have this meeting or that meeting? I mean, is where I'd like to get some guidance, Dolores.
What's the flavor of the board?
Raheem just put his hand up.
Raheem?
Yeah, I don't think there's any reason why every single meeting that we have on Zoom shouldn't be uploaded. I think once you start getting into picking and choosing what's up and what's not, like, it creates more problems than it does solutions maybe. So I think we need to upload them all. And Teresa, I think one thing that we might want to explore, since these are such big files, like the money that they're going to charge us is for like that upload time, which is literally just like clicking a button and then waiting for it to go. We may want to explore like handling the uploading ourselves, like, or yourself or myself, whoever has the hard drive, do the uploading. They can do all the other backend stuff. Once something is up, they have to, then link it to whatever, to the web page, which will take some time, but not as much time as them actually uploading the files. So I think we should definitely explore that. And I think, as I clapped to before, the idea of, we've been trying to, Laura, as you know, we've been trying to get our Zoom meetings live streamed on YouTube for since the beginning of the year. Yeah. And we've had pushback and we've had lots of running on that. But if we do that, then going forward, there won't be any need for anybody, for Ann or Doug or anybody to upload anything, because the meetings will automatically be on YouTube and don't need to be linked that way. So we do need to figure out a solution for the past, for what exists that's not uploaded. But going forward, we should try to figure out a solution to get everything live streamed on YouTube as it happens, so that we don't have to worry about uploading anything once meetings are over.
Right.
So then the action is what?
Well, I don't know that we can take an action that we haven't already taken, essentially, which is to have, I don't think we need an action. I mean, the Zumwinkle team is willing to upload what, in this manner we're talking about. Raheem knows, and I know, that Gibson has promised to have a meeting with the two, he and I. It's never happened. asked repeatedly. I don't want to have a long conversation about that, about how to do the live stream. I'm sort of giving up and we'll just let Ann do it from the account I use, because what I have learned, Raheem, is that if on these meeting recordings, if I do it in the cloud, because right now sitting in the cloud is our October meeting, but I can only do one and I have to delete it before I do another. And I've been talking to Zoom, they won't let me increase my cloud, so the only way we can keep it in the cloud would be to use the city license. That we're not having any real luck with Gibson to teach us how to do it. So the live stream is the best idea. I'm making a circle here. Live stream is totally the best idea.
Okay,
And,
so Laura, I mean, if that's your position now, then if you can just send me the credentials so that we can test it out and figure it out, that we can just we can have it done.
Right, because I'm giving up on who. It's not working. I mean, you've not been hearing from him at all, right, Gibson? Yeah, me neither, about setting up a three-way meeting.
Okay, so to get aligned and focused, what are we doing?
What we're doing is,
let me
okay, you say it.
I've been on emails that Teresa's been sending to Ann and Doug. She's doing a good job kind of corral them on figuring out. I know, Laura, you think you have an answer on what they've said about what they'll do, but I think whatever Teresa's finding out now will be the information that we go on.
Okay.
They'll let us know how much they can upload from the past. We'll figure out if there's a dollar amount that needs to be approved to get them to do everything else, or we'll figure out if we can do that work ourselves. At the same time, we're going to investigate having our Zoom meetings live streamed on YouTube so that we won't have to deal with this in the future. And that'll be that. But again, I think Teresa's been doing a good job trying to fact find with Ann and Doug what it's going to take to get everything from the past uploaded. And I think whatever she figures out will kind of determine what the next steps are.
So are we going to table this to the next executive committee meeting or the governing board meeting?
I'm just thinking that we're moving forward. I don't know unless Teresa wants us to have a report at executive, that's fine.
Teresa?
We don't need, I feel like we all are in agreement what we're going to do, and we're just going to move forward with it. If something comes up, and especially if it's financial or some funding issue, I'll come back, or Raheem will come back and we'll address it to the executive committee.
Right. And in terms of, I do want to say one thing, we have done a little picking and choosing. I mean, once we did upload the homelessness liaison committee meeting that had Mark Ridley Thomas at it. We just said, oh, that's interesting, let's upload it. So that's successful, it's been uploaded. So, so I think it's okay to pick and choose. Not sure that I really would have wanted that first oil drilling meeting uploaded. I felt a little uncomfortable about it anyway, but that's a big other question. Are we only supposed to do the ones we're comfortable with? Or, I mean, that's a whole other thing. And that I would really rather have the communications committee kind of develop a policy around, and that might take a little while. I mean, how you pick and choose committee meetings.
I don't think it should be a pick and choose. We're a public entity.
No, about which is on YouTube, not which is live stream. If we're going to live stream, we're going to live stream.
No, I disagree. I believe all of the meetings.
Everything's on YouTube because it becomes part of our minutes. Like our minutes become the YouTubes. Like we don't have to have super detailed minutes if you have a YouTube link that shows everything that happens. So like it's important to have every single meeting. Like maybe that'll encourage people to behave better on these things.
Okay. All right. Are we done with this?
Yes. Thank you,
Okay,
Dolores.
I think we moved item 6, was it, to be under 14?
Yeah, we moved 6 to next.
Huh?
Yes, we moved 6 to next. It's now.
Okay, Raheem, you got the floor?
Yeah, so I'm looking to get some clarification on the process by which applicants apply for open board member seats. We have 4 open seats now. Our creative team on the communications committee had this idea to publicize those seats on Facebook, Instagram. But the process now is that anybody that wants to apply has to go directly to the president to request an application, which seems like a barrier to entry. I asked Laura if she can just send me the applications, and she said no, because the official process is that people have to ask the president for the application, and that any change to that process needs to be done with the executive committee. So I mean, my first question is, okay, can we make that change? My second question though is one of process. So like these processes that exist that don't have any existence in our bylaws or standing rules, they don't exist in any sort of like voted upon motion. So these processes that exist but with no paper trail to them, like what are they? How do we change them? Like this is just something that now, like I don't know if you guys had anybody apply for those 4 seats at tonight's meeting. But if not, then, you know, like we're going another month without 4 seats that we could be filling now because we're beholden to some process that exists for the sake of existing. And so it kind of goes to some of the frustrations that I think Teresa's expressed tonight about, you know, things just kind of being a certain way just because they are, and it seemed like it takes a lot of energy and work to get things changed in these processes. And so just trying to get clarification on that, and then also, but ultimately have a decision on changing this process so that people don't have to come directly to the president to request an application.
Do you have an idea of how you think it should be done?
Yeah, I mean, I think when we send out any sort of correspondence about people who may want to apply, include a link to the PDFs to apply. I think we can have them housed on our website. I think they should just be readily available. There's clearly not people like knocking down the doors to become board members. So I think making it harder doesn't encourage people to kind of go through the process of getting an application.
So right now, an applicant would have to contact Laura, and Laura would send them the forms. And what you're saying is that what you're suggesting is that the forms should be readily available on the UNNC website. And then after they fill the form out, where does it go?
Sure, then they can send it to Laura. And look, if we want to keep this process of people requesting it from Laura additionally, fine. But I'm saying that shouldn't be the only way that somebody can get an application to apply. Like we should have this accessible everywhere, anywhere we can, and not just this one way.
So then they can either get an application from Laura and get or get an application downloaded from online from our website. Yeah. And then once they fill it out, they shoot it over to Laura.
Sure.
Okay. Laura?
Yeah, I just want to again say president@unnc.org, whoever it may be. This is the process, Dolores. I talked to Jeff Camp. I mean, he said he inherited this entire process from his predecessor, which would be Stevie Stern. So it's obviously something that was established a long time ago. And Rahim, obviously you went through that very same process to be appointed initially. So all I did in implementing the process in these 7 different, you know, each region has a form and at large has a form. The only thing I have changed on it is I changed the name from Jeff Bowen to Laura Myers, because he was not the Jeff we usually talk about, but my temporary, you know, the person who was right before me. He must have changed it from, you know, Denise, and Denise must have changed it from Jeff Camp. So we just changed the name. And then once we went on Zoom, I added a sentence about we meet on Zoom. So the process of, and even that email, the email I send out saying we're looking for people, it dates to 2012 in MailChimp. It's a template in MailChimp about seeking candidates, whatever that email says. So it's obviously was established by people who preceded us. I don't know how it was established. Rahim, we did have 2 candidates actually. So, you know, so it worked, but I don't have a problem with putting it on the website. I just had a frank problem with the communications committee decided this is a good idea, and it's like when. But I hear the clarification, it was the design team, not the committee, because I was a little concerned about when did the committee consider it. But if it's your design team, that's different. And I don't have a problem with that. But how do we turn it on and off? I mean, when there are no seats available, do we turn the function off? And I don't know the answer. Last but not least, I think what most neighborhood councils do for applications for vacant seats is they actually also asked the applicants to bring a petition with 15 stakeholders or whatever the number is supporting their application. So I wonder if we open the process, if we should really open the process, because, but I don't know the answer. So those are my comments. So anyway, but I inherited it.
Teresa?
Thank you, Dolores. Well, first of all, Laura, we don't even require people to show ID when they vote. So the idea that we would say to an applicant, oh, by the way, you have to have 15 of your neighbors sign a petition, that is ludicrous.
Okay.
Okay. So also, Raheem, and maybe you know this, Laura, can you get the application from Dunn? Because I feel somewhere along the line, I went to Dunn, and maybe it's when I was actually running, but there was a vacancy, there was some kind of application that I was able to complete at Dunn. I don't remember getting it from the president. Is there, do you know that, Laura?
The only thing I have is what I have. I mean, in other words, I was,
so in reality,
I was provided by my predecessor some links to things. I mean, here's the email, you know, he wrote me a memo, and then he appended a memo that Denise had written to him. And these applications were a part of it. That is all I can tell you. And Jeff Camp says he inherited the exact same things from his predecessor. So it's just somehow was established long ago and far away by some executive committee of UNNC.
So it was established.
I think there's two different things here. When you're running for election, you apply with Dunn.
Right.
If you're being appointed to the board, you apply with us.
Okay, thank you, Dolores. I have one more comment.
Yes.
Just because something has always been done that way, doesn't mean that we have to continue it that way.
Correct.
We have to be a little more progressive, a little more digitally inclined. Let's post it on, let's say, hey, Facebook, if you're interested, here's the application, submit it. It can still go through the president, who can then review it to verify the address or make sure it's not some BS or something. But I'm all about trying to get as many people involved. I'm happy we had 2 applicants today. I would have been happy to have 5. Hey, show me you're committed to working on here, because believe me, we have people who barely come to meetings. I would love to have people who are committed, who, you know, have ideas. Let's get everybody engaged. So if we could do that somehow and have that on our social media, I would like that, or even just our webpage. I think it would be great.
Laura?
Yeah, no, Lizzie, thank you, did post it on our Facebook, and we posted on Nextdoor, and we shared it to other Facebook pages. So it wasn't it was done. It was done. But what wasn't done, obviously, we didn't direct them to a portal on our website where they could get the application. We directed them to send an email to president@unnc.org. But we did do this, you know, the social media. We didn't do Instagram because Lizzie doesn't have access to that.
So is there a reason why we cannot have the application on our website?
Well, I would only again ask this question I asked before. Do we have it there permanently, even when we don't have openings, or do we somehow turn the little button on and off? And I don't know the answer, and I don't know how easy that would be.
Yeah, it's a permanent page that the information is updated when there are or are not seats. The applications can live there forever, but the information on the page will say, like, there are 2 seats available. These are the seats. There are 0 seats available. Keep checking back, you know, whatever it is. But it's a permanent page, sure.
It's just like any other form that we have. Any other comments, questions? I hope not. So
well, I mean,
our action will be that they can still contact you for an application, and we will also have the form on our UNNC website.
Right, and I don't think this requires a board action. I think this is a process set up by executive committee. I could be corrected, but I think we could just do it.
Okay. Item 15, approve UNNC inventory report. Are we doing that?
I don't see why not. It's not approve it, it's a recommend. It would I wrote approve, sorry, but I think it's recommend approval to the governing board. And that was the action we had agreed a month ago would have to be taken for November 4th. What was to, I mean, we are out of time. This is, the inventory report is due in November for the 2-year anniversary of the last time we filed. So as you saw, a little back and forth between me and Greg, I'm trying to get him to tell me if he does or doesn't have all the doohickeys that are also on the inventory report that attach to the bigger things that he has, because we're supposed to have all of that. But I'll just work that out with Greg, because his response, it doesn't matter. But as you know, we're missing a lot of things. As you also know full well, Gibson has never, ever, ever, ever sent me that email you requested, and we're not going to wait. And we're going to approve the inventory as it is. That's what you guys directed last month. I've tried. I do want to say, and I'm sorry, you guys, I asked him, I sent him emails. I had that face-to-face meeting with him. I begged him to send me an email about setting up a meeting between he said he would set up a meeting between he, Shauna, Greg, and myself, but he couldn't do it before our board meeting. He could do it last week, except that he was taking Monday and Wednesday off. He never sent the email. I begged him. I said, they'll be mad at me if I don't have at least an email from you on Thursday, by Thursday, saying that you're doing this. And you were mad at me, but I just can't make him do stuff. I mean, I just can't. So we'll just move on without it, and we'll turn.
Can the inventory report be uploaded? Is there an?
It is uploaded.
Huh?
It is uploaded.
Already?
It's uploaded.
Yeah.
Yes.
And sent into Dunn?
Oh, no, wait, the
Uploaded
board
for-
has to vote to approve it, and then we send it in. Greg
okay,
files
so
it to the clerk.
What my question is there a way, is there an option for a notation when you upload it, when you're send it into Dunn, that certain items were not added due to the theft of the thing, and according to Gibson, Dunn is to get back to us with regards to what to do about it?
Right here, I just shared it. I don't know if you can you see it. I kind of color coded the stolen. There's different color codings on it, and I can work with Greg to make it better. But there's things I don't know where they are, and things I know for sure were lost or stolen. The light blue is what was in anything that's called storage was the firehouse. So everything that was in the firehouse is simply gone. And then most of the orange things are my unknowns. I mean, that's what I'm trying to get more information from Greg. Are they really unknown, or does he have some of the little pieces? But this is, and anything that's just white is good. We have it. These two green things at the top, we do have, I now know. I have some highlights. Note, it does not turn on. So this is what we have. I'm just trying to finish the commentaries, which is in this column H. And
what happened to the tablets that we purchased for outreach?
Yeah, see that? I don't know. Unknown.
Where are they?
I don't know.
Right here?
Yeah, see where it says.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Unknown.
Okay.
Unknown. So they may well have also been in the firehouse. I hope not. But yeah.
Okay. So, all right.
Teresa has her hand up.
Teresa?
I just need some clarification. When was this inventory done?
November 2019. So it's
Right.
2 years. So we're good.
Okay.
We're good
No,
at the moment, but we won't be good if we don't act on November 4th.
Okay. I'm just asking this, we have no idea if this is accurate or not because it hasn't been done since November 2019.
No, that's what I'm trying to ascertain. Which of these things do we have and which do we not? So
when
anything in white, we
Can I
have.
just ask a question?
Mhm.
When are we not going to have 3 people go and actually physically view this item? Check. This is in storage. Check. Unidentified, unknown, cannot find right now. I mean, are we not going to have a team?
That's what we did do. That's
what
what this is
asking.
about.
2019?
In 2019, I'm sorry, in 2019, Ethan Polk did do that, and that's what this list is. So
But then
now
how do you know that-
I am now trying to figure out where the heck everything is that was present and accounted for in 2019. Likely that happened in October. We voted in November of 2019. And just to remind you of the timeline, Teresa, my first meeting as president was that meeting in November 2019. So everything before that, I know nothing.
Okay, but
Okay.
Laura, her question is, this report was generated in 2019. Has someone did an update,
Yes,
verify that we have these things that's in white?
yes,
And when was that done?
by Greg and me. Greg
Okay,
Mosley, yes.
When, Laura?
Last 3 months. I mean, that's what I've been emailing Greg back and forth. Please verify for sure that you have these things, because these are the things. So I have seen the public storage, large storage cabinet plastic. It is now in the physical. I wrote the word public storage. We pulled it out of Council District 10. Then it went to Chris Carlson's garage.
you don't have to go through all of this. We're just asking a question, Laura.
Well, I'm trying. First I said yes, and then I keep getting asked. So now I'm telling you specifically. So yes.
But we don't have time to go through all of this. We're just, okay, you said that you and Greg have physically done the check. That's all we need to know, right?
Yes.
Right. So now, this, the motion is to send this to the board to approve it so we can
Right.
send it on to done.
Correct. And the only exceptions, and that's what I'm trying to get the answer from Greg, are things like, I don't know if you see line 40, Belkin pivot surge 8 outlets. Does he have it or does he not have it? I don't care if he doesn't have it. I just want to know the answer. I mean, whatever it is, it's awfully old. You see where I'm saying a 25-foot HDMI to HDMI 1.3 cable, blah, blah, blah. I know we have that. I think I know we have that, but that's the only thing that's still missing. The only
Okay, so
information
that's
still missing.
item 40 through what?
40 through 42.
40 to 42. I will ask him myself.
Okay,
Does Greg have this in inventory?
right. And then the one that's highlighted that says Jeff Bowen scanner, I will take it upon myself to email Jeff Bowen to see if he has the damn scanner. I'm
Okay,
guessing not.
So then your answer is that you haven't checked on everything then.
Well, no, because this was the one I just noticed the other, again. I'm sorry. Greg is the person who took everything from the CD10 closet, which was most of the technology, and put it in his house. So that's why I keep asking Greg to answer some of these questions.
I'm
I
sorry.
don't mean to be
He only did that until he could move it to his storage. Come on.
No. The technology remains in his house.
Oh.
Technology, because it's not safe in public storage. And that's why I keep asking him, but I think I'm realizing, that's what I'm saying. I realized that we didn't have the Fujitsu scanner. I keep looking at this.
Did we lose Paul?
We
Yes,
might have.
Paul left.
So you guys, I mean, I understand, but I'm really, I have none of it in my personal possession, clearly. So I can only rely on other people giving me the information. I'm trying to fill all of this out so we can turn it in.
Okay, take this down. Take this down.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I have a question. First, Dolores, I'm sorry, I'll wait. Can I speak?
Yes.
Thank you. No one's going to hold you personally responsible, Laura, for the missing items. I feel like you're very concerned that someone's going to say, oh, well, you were president, so this all happened under your watch. It's no one's going to say you, Laura, are personally responsible. Someone could say, well, it's ultimately the president's responsibility because when you're the president, the buck stops with you. But I am very concerned. I mean, I know you and Greg are working on this. My thoughts about this inventory was that we're trying to decide when we're going to go do the inventory. Like everybody, 3 people are going to show up and we're going to go to storage and we're going to check that off and we're going to take a picture and check that off and make sure we have all these things. And then we're going to go to Jeff Camp's garage and make sure we have those 3 things. And then we're going to go to Greg's or wherever this stuff is. So there's a committee or some people that actually visually see each one of these items, because what could happen next year or in 2 years? Well, we never get the built-in surge protector. We never do that. And it's going to be like, well, we had it. Who knows? Who is Jeff Bowen? I don't even know who that is. I mean, you know what I mean? So I don't know how I feel about this. I mean, maybe I should talk to Greg and have him verify some of this stuff, but I don't feel comfortable with the accuracy of this report.
Okay, well, I join you on that. That's why I keep asking the same questions over and over again. But I don't think in the middle of a COVID pandemic, we can say we're coming to your, wherever it is, study, and we want to look at it personally. I think it might offend him, but I'm also not sure that any of us want people in our homes. That's the thing. I'm grateful
about Greg. I'm not talking about Greg. You know.
Well, I did go to the firehouse again. I want to circle back. In May, I went to the firehouse. They had just physically reopened. I was shocked. That's what started all of this. I was shocked to see the door on our room removed and in the middle of the room, and it was the only thing in the room. I cannot tell you how awful that was.
File a police report on that?
Well, no, and that's one of the questions. Well, why I mean, I know what happened. I was still shocked. It's not that it was, well, it could have been stolen. I don't know. But the whole idea of a police report just came up 2 weeks ago. So in May, no, I didn't file a police report. But I did immediately contact Dunn. I mean, that's the thing. I emailed Gibson. He is our NEA. What do I do with this? He said, I need to talk to people higher up. I have repeatedly done this contact. He is the person I'm supposed to be contacting. He never said file a police report. It didn't occur to me to do that, frankly.
Should we attach that, Dolores, should that be attached, that email and Gibson's response be attached to this when we do if we send it to the board?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
The email that Laura sent to Gibson and Gibson's response, should it be attached to this inventory so it can show that we acknowledge that we lost, some of our items were stolen, and we followed the procedure of contacting Dunn and they didn't do anything? So it's documented.
That's what I've been saying all along. We need to have some kind of paper trail.
Right. But again, remember, we're a little bit of a circle here. Boy, do I wish I have an email back from Gibson on any of this, especially recently. I can't make him write the email. I mean,
okay, but what email are you talking about?
Well, the email, Laura said.
I said I contacted. I didn't say I emailed Gibson. I said I talked to him on the phone.
Oh, so we don't have anything in writing.
I don't know. I need to look. I mean, I'll just search my Gibson.
Do we still have a quorum here?
Yes, but do we want to still have a quorum? I don't know. I mean, here's what I know. We don't want to have a 4-hour meeting on November 4. We don't want to have a long discussion. We just want to approve this darn thing and get it off our table.
I don't know if we can go and prove it, Laura.
Well, last month you said we should just approve it with the gaps. So I'm sort of I think that's what I had agreed, and I would spend this time trying to get an further answer, and it still hasn't happened. And at some point, November, we have to just turn it in and see how it plays out.
Teresa, why don't we go ahead and send this to the board, the governing board, and in between time, maybe Greg and Laura can contact whoever they need to contact to make sure that either they do or they don't have the stuff. And then the board can decide whether we want to send it on to Dunn or not.
Okay, that's fine. My concern is we're missing a lot of items. And if Dunn says, hey, we gave you this furniture, what happened to it? Hey, what happened to this? Or wonder if somebody asked for a public records. How did you lose $10,000 worth of equipment and furniture?
Well, that's why I was asking if there was an option for a note to say that we contacted Gibson, our advocate, and we have not heard back from him as to what to do about the missing items.
Right.
So is there an option for that?
Yeah, I'm looking in my email to see if I was smart. See, remember when this started?
Laura, It's late. We don't want another story. Is there an option to put a note to say you contacted Gibson and we have not heard back from him? Or if you do have an email, as Teresa suggested, attach it to the report and send it in.
Okay. And what I'm saying is, unfortunately, I do not think I have a May email to Gibson. So, in other words,
if you don't have an email from Gibson, a response from Gibson, then we put a note that says we contacted him. We have not received a response as to what to do about the missing items.
Okay.
Simple as that.
All right. Yeah, I'm good with that because I don't think he's ever gonna.
Teresa?
Yes, that's fine. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Next
Thank you.
item.
Yes.
Upcoming governing board meeting agenda items.
Yep, I got that. It may not be complete, obviously, but I did prepare a memo. And I have to say, while I'm looking for it, I do have a request from Dorit that we do some kind of presentation for Veterans Day, where we honor something, our board members who are veterans. I'm sort of thinking that it's a lovely idea. I'd almost like it to be larger, but something in the 6:30 to 7 o'clock timeframe before we officially call the meeting to order. Greg's a veteran, Carlos is a veteran, but we have veterans housing. I mean, I think there is something that could be pulled together, but I don't know if we really want it within our timed board meeting. So
what kind of presentation?
Can you make that larger too, Laura? I can't read that.
Yes, I can. I'm so sorry. Yes. I'll try. And you'll see I have some updates for tonight that we can skip, but can you read that? Is that readable?
Oh, yes, that's yeah, it's good enough.
Okay, so I want to talk to Dorit about it, but I would rather, if we do something, is make it a little, you want this bigger, or want me to be quiet?
No, I just want you not to move it. That's good. Thank you. You can keep talking.
Okay, so in other words, we have veterans housing, we have a developer who's doing veterans housing, we have veterans on our board. There is something to do. I don't know quite what it is, but whatever it is, I would rather do it between 6:30 and 7 than after we start our business meeting. In other words, pre-quorum.
But my question is, what kind of presentation?
I have no idea yet. This just came up this morning. I like the idea of honoring our veterans, our heroes, our patriots, but I just, beyond that, don't have a clue. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Appoint candidates to the 2 seats. Government officials, blah, 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 blah. Branding and logo presentation, planning and zoning committee, oil drilling.
No, not the oil drilling is likely deferred. I mean, I'm going to say 100% going to be deferred, but we do have the 2 subcommittee items.
Okay, and then I want to talk about number 2, this stoplight at 24th and Western, where did that come from? And also I'm concerned, let me finish, please. I'm concerned about, that is on the planning and zoning, a meeting for tomorrow with CMI. Are you not asking for a stoplight at 24th and Western tomorrow?
Well, we're asking, this will be the 4th time. This was a reiteration item.
From what I understand, sorry, Laura, from what I understand, first of all, I don't think I want it here. Secondly, I don't know, CMI has not asked for a stoplight there. You've asked for the stoplight. I don't know what other community members have asked for a stoplight. And the last time I remember about stoplights, you were talking about having a holistic approach. So unless something happened at a recent meeting that I didn't attend, and I tried to attend them all, I don't think that should be on the agenda.
Okay.
Unless you want to explain it.
I do. Actually, CIM Shaul Kuba, who's the president of CIM, does want the stoplight and has asked for it as well. And the reason is, we voted, UNNC voted for this a couple of years ago. Then we voted for it again in the context of like 8 requests to LADOT over, kind of a lot of things. And then we voted for it a third time as a resolution when we were transitioning from Herb Wesson to Mark Ridley Thomas as a thing, which we did give to the incoming council office on a list, a longer list of many different things. And why it's up again is we suddenly have this, essentially, if everything that's proposed is built, there will be 470 residential units and well over 75,000 square feet of commercial at the big parcel at 24th and Western.
I know where it is, Laura. I looked at the information. I am asking you that CMI needs to pay for this stoplight. We should not have to put the bill on that. And the way I understand it,
Okay.
they have not even asked for the stoplight. If you can show me some documentation that they're asking for the stoplight and it's going to come out of their budget, and that's fine. But to put that back on the council district, to then go to Public Works and have it come out of the city funds to pay for it, I do not think we should do that.
Okay, but I hear you don't want it on this agenda, and this may be premature. Remember when I put these things on, this is projected. It's not necessarily, I don't even know if we're going to vote tomorrow night. If we don't, this wouldn't be on the governing board, right?
CMI.
She means CIM.
Oh, sorry, CIM, sorry.
Yeah,
Who's
but-
The big developer that's putting up projects all around here on all the way down West Adams, and then all these structures over here at Washington, Western, and what is that?
Also,
24th? They already
the
have a
office buildings under construction on Crenshaw right now, that's them too. They purchased all of the West Angeles holdings and to give the West Angeles Church the funds to build their new complex behind the cathedral. So there's there'll be others coming our way. But anyway, Teresa, these are just, I don't even know how we're going to vote tomorrow night. So if we don't even vote, then it wouldn't be on governing board, that's for sure. So I hear what you're saying, but I'm not going to predict the vote. It's however the vote goes, or if it goes. And I don't mind not doing it either on November 4th. There's not an emergency.
I know it's getting late here. I just don't even know why it's here. I don't even understand why it would, if it's part of their package, their planning and zoning and their thing, it gets voted over there. So that little one element of a light at 24th and Western should not even have to come back to be voted on upon by the board. It would be part of the whole package that would be voted on, not just this one line item. But okay, let's just let it go because it.
Yeah, no, okay. I think I just screwed it. Did I just bring up a second thing?
No, I'm on the same document.
Well, yeah, but I'm no longer on it. Oh, phooey.
All right.
I'm sorry.
Next.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm very sorry because I'm no longer on it. So I'm going to see if I can just see it on my own computer. So there's a proposed community impact statement, citywide electric vehicle grid, and we did that at environmental committee. The thing we just talked about, designate the authorized UNNC rep for the election stuff, eliminating physical records from, in other words, I'll pick up the motion we did do. Okay, on this redistricting, so the error in us not voting on, this is 2020 hindsight's really good. But remember, we decided not to vote on to update the redistricting thing because we had the good motion and we could just keep updating, send in a new letter. I got an email back from the deputy director on Friday, 11 o'clock at night, saying UNNC would not be permitted to speak because we had not done a more recent vote. So, yeah, I'm saying.
Okay, well, I saw your CIS. Is this the one, are you saying that the one you submitted is now being rejected?
It was rejected.
Okay.
Because we didn't have a more recent vote. So we had agreed to streamline, well, look, we've got a good motion, we can just update our letter, but apparently we can't.
Okay.
Although the
so that
city
makes-
council may not care. City council may
Okay.
not care.
Okay, next.
Well,
Action on
you-
Calgary Works.
Right, approve the inventory report. Okay, so on Suns Matter, you saw that on Greg's report that they're having trouble with the IRS, getting in the middle of COVID, getting their copy of their letter. Sandra Pruitt is actually partnering on the holiday events she's talking about with the Friends of the Jefferson Park Library. So my core question, but it was meant to be for Greg, is can we just switch the NPG to the other nonprofit, which we know has the IRS letter because we've given them money before, but this may not be a finesse we want to do. So should it be on the agenda or not? I mean, it would have been, I wish Greg had been working on this a little harder. Oh God, I apologize. I don't mean to be pointing any fingers at Greg. He's so busy these days. I wish passive voice, there was a way that this could have been handled a little more streamlined. So do we want to try and rescue this MPG? So there could be toy giveaway, et cetera, at a December holiday event, knowing that there's a second 501c3 nonprofit involved. And if yes, we need to have it on this agenda. And it's not a proper procedure. I know that.
Well, whatever we can do to save it, because they've been doing that for several years now. The toy giveaway.
I don't even know. The other 501c, you said the public library, who is she?
It's the Friends of the Jefferson.
Friends of the library at Leslie Shaw.
Okay, would they do a toy giveaway without Sons Matter?
I don't think so, because
Okay.
Sons
Okay,
Matter is the one
Dolores.
really
Let's try to do
organizing
whatever
it.
we can to try to save it. I'm in agreement with that.
Right. And she was, I mean, you may recall the president of that organization was present at our meeting. She didn't say a lot, but she was there. And her name's on the, I mean, we would just have to redo it, but we'd have to literally redo it.
But she knew that she needed this. Why didn't she have this? Never mind.
Okay,
Never mind.
that's gonna be-
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
That's going to be Greg's, and I don't like doing this without Greg, to be quite
I
honest.
agree.
Because he would be the one saying that right now. She knew the proper procedure. I talked to her, because he did work with her to try to get this all her documentation ready. So, I'm going to take it back. I don't know. I'm going to abstain.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
So,
if you abstain, we don't do it, because all three of us have to be in agreement, and that's okay. That's okay. That's okay.
Well, Dolores, what do you think, Dolores?
it says possible revision of Sons Matter. So we just explain what the situation is to the board, and it'll just come up for a vote. I mean, if they don't want to do it, then it won't happen. I mean, she's responsible. She's the moving party here, and she's been on the board before. She knows exactly what she's supposed to do and what paperwork. I don't want to nix it here at executive committee. Let the whole board hear what the problem is, and if they want to nix it, fine.
Okay, I'll go with that. That's fine. As long as we explain the whole thing,
Right.
I'm fine with that.
Okay. Well, anyway,
Okay.
approve the October MER report if it's available. We're meeting on the 4th of November. It may not be available. Now, this next one, we didn't get the update. So Ciclavia, I don't know if you've heard about it, is being held on December 5. UNNC has been offered to have a table and a tent for free in the hub at Crenshaw and Expo. Yay. So, and we'll be able to do it because it's not.
It's outside.
Yes, we can
Is
do
this
it.
on Washington? Or is this?
No.
are they doing Washington,
Exposition
Jefferson?
and Crenshaw,
Exposition.
and the route for Ciclavia would be south from there to Martin Luther King, and Martin Luther King to Central Avenue. So there's 4 hubs, but one is right at our southwest. Do I have my geography right? Southwest corner of UNNC. So so that's all happened. I'm sorry. Once and for all, Jeff Camp he's promised me that he will look at his garage to see if we have any bags. We don't know if we need bags, but there's a pot, and I don't know if we should do bags, but potentially on the agenda would be an outreach request for making more bags. And Dolores, I know you want the bags. You want the existing bags. I don't know if you wanted to pay for more bags, but so that's that. I don't know if we should go forward with that or not. Again, outside our normal procedure, but this just came up.
And if you're talking to Jeff Kemp, can you also find out if he has these folding tables and these logo tablecloths?
He has one folding table. We used it for the Arlington Heights. He does not have the tent, but yes, I told him I have to meet him there. We have to do it. To your point, I said, I want to be in the garage with you. So it's either Thursday or Saturday. He has promised me.
Okay. And when you get that, you're going to update this because it says
I
two folding
absolutely
tables.
will. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so this is just, the purpose for me putting it here for you guys is simply that it's outside our procedure. We should have done the funding request tonight. However, it's also administrative under the outreach budget. It would just be allocating more of existing dollars. I mean, they're existing in the outreach budget, but we have to technically do a BAC if we want to spend, I'm making up a number, $348.16 to make bags. And we didn't do it tonight. But it wouldn't be it's within the broad parameters of the designated outreach
Right,
budget. And
because we
Dolores
just saved them $500, so they have
for
money.
photocopying. We were very specific. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm fine with that too. And then the Slow Street update, what is
There,
that?
well, I don't know. It's a possibility. There were people who complained about, they didn't like that all the bollards and signs were ugly. They're just standard stuff. So they went to the HPOZ. We approved Slow Streets. A group of folks, I didn't go to the meeting, complained, and then that seemed to have worked, and LADOT went to the HPOZ meeting, and there may be a request that we adjust what we're asking for, because we're the applicant for Slow Streets. We don't know
I think this is too much stuff. So
Okay.
I
know. To Raheem's point from last meeting, don't the officers know how to do an agenda so we can get done? Right? So you want me?
Do you want to keep this? Well, what I would have liked, to be quite honest, is if you could have allocated some times in this, so you could say, oh no, it's only going to take 10 minutes for Slow Streets, or it's going to take 15 minutes to review this inventory report. So I'd have an idea. Now I got to sit here and try to figure out what we should eliminate, if anything. Dolores, what should we get rid of?
Can I ask you guys something? As I just did, I just crossed out 2 things. Can you see the cross out? Because I can no longer see anything.
Yes.
Slow Street update and the 24th and Western stoplight.
Right. Okay. And I'm crossing out. I don't think there's any planning and zoning cases, to be honest. I'm definitely crossing out oil drilling.
Okay.
And so the planning and zoning meeting tomorrow, you don't think there's going to be any?
No, the only action that could happen would be on that stoplight. Everything else is a non-action item.
Okay.
Well, committee reports is automatically on the agenda. They can just say, we don't have a report.
Correct. Well, better that they say nothing, whatever committee, because it takes even more time to say something than nothing. But Tori was pissed off when we basically ended the meeting, because she had come to do some sort of report for committees, but she had not told me in advance. And I didn't realize she was there, but she certainly let me know after.
Well,
just saying. But I didn't know she was there.
We'll just go through where it says committee reports, and if anybody raises their hand, then they give a report.
No, we tabled it because it got so late. I'm saying it was at the end of the meeting. It was just tabled at the end. And
Laura, are you open to, when you send this out, if we need to move things around, are you open to us moving things around?
Oh yeah, this is not in any sort of order. The only agreement we is that branding goes first.
Yes.
Because that we made this big agreement, and then otherwise we had said we juggle the order of things so that there's not always somebody first and always somebody last. And obviously on this list, I don't have minutes, I don't have the treasurer's report. We know we have all of that. Greg would like the treasurer's report to be first. I feel we have to do the branding first.
Well, also, I think what he wants is to have an overview, a budget. He didn't necessarily say the treasury's report, but he wanted to have his budget stance, or, you know, his budget thing first, so everybody would know how much money we have before we go about allocating money. So-
Right, and I really, really would like him to do that 1-page snapshot, pretty with colors, that I can have on the agenda so we can know that every month.
Okay, Dolores, if I could just say, I did not give this to you, and I think you may have forgotten about approving the minutes from last meeting. Is
Yeah.
it possible we can just add that to next meeting and approve 2 months' meetings? I don't know if
Yes.
there's a protocol to that or not.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, did anyone else have any agenda items I'm supposed to be putting on governing board? I know you just said there's too many, but
Yeah, no, I have nothing else. I can't, even if I did, I wouldn't suggest it.
Well, Teresa, you took up 3/4 of the meeting with all your stuff.
I told my husband, I said, well, that's gonna be it. She's never giving me any more agenda items.
I'm getting a commentary to my side saying this meeting must be over.
Okay,
We done?
I think
if you say
so.
so, Dolores.
Okay, meeting adjourned at 10:20.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good
Bye.
evening.
Are we supposed to be keeping minutes at these meetings?
Yeah,
I
Bill,
am keeping minutes. You've seen the
Oh, yeah,
minutes.
secretary, I'm sorry. Dang.
All right, I'll get these minutes out
Tiffany, I went to
sooner.
a funeral today, so my brain is kind of muddled.
yeah, I feel so bad. You know.
Yeah.
All right, good night.